The main character's fiancé, whom she met for the first time today, was truly handsome. Lucian Cardian was delighted to meet him. The girl thought he was very striking. Even the maid was shocked. He didn't understand what was wrong with the lady. The mistress greeted him. Her name was Feronia Lilac. Lucian regretted that he had only just come to meet her. The ongoing war made it difficult to return home. Feronia said everything was fine. Everything really was fine, because he is the one who led the Empire to victory, the hero of the Empire. Lord Cardian, the one whom the Emperor accepted as her fiancé 2 years ago, madly in love with the main character, a minor protagonist who has gone mad and strangled half the Empire. The novel she was reading was called Saint Estelle. Apparently being a saint isn't enough. That's why the main character has too much charm. All the handsome men in the novel lost their heads over her, including Lucian Cardian, the hero of the Empire. She didn't understand why a man would cut people into tiny pieces on the battlefield. She thought it was boring. But even so, she liked the second protagonist, Lucian, more than the main character, the Crown Prince. She didn't know what would happen to her now. The girl ended up in the body of that very bride whom the secondary protagonist, having lost his head, will kill with his own hands. Lucian Cardian. He'd loved the saint since childhood, but he couldn't bring himself to admit it, because he was born with red eyes. Since ancient times, red eyes have been believed to be the curse of a demon. While still young, he was knighted, and his achievements on the battlefield were incredible. But people still whispered behind his back, assuming he had borrowed his power from demons. That's why he avoided the saint. Lucian considered even admiring her a grave sin for such a damn man. He resigned himself to his desire to get closer to her. But when he learned that the saint and the prince had fallen in love, all his suppressed feelings burst forth. He told Estelle that he loved her. However, no matter how sincerely he expressed his feelings, no matter how many tears he shed, the saint did not accept his love because she had already given her heart to another man. Lucian was overcome with deep sadness and fierce jealousy, and then to his surprise, demonic powers awakened within him. He lost his mind and killed everyone who bothered him, hurt him, or insulted him mercilessly. Among them was his fiancée Feronia, who hid her contempt for him. She knew he was a demon and wanted him dead. He's a ticking time bomb with a demon inside, and the main character wants to break off the engagement immediately. But that's impossible because the engagement was arranged by the Emperor. That's why he's here now. She felt very awkward, but she still can't believe that the man in front of her is a ticking time bomb. With that face, he's clearly not of this world. Feronia said he was hurt, but he said it was nothing serious and asked them to just ignore it. According to the plot, Lucian could heal his wounds. Whether such abilities exist or not doesn't matter. It's not something to be taken lightly. Annie had to put it away. The day would come when her lady would need it. Annie found the plaster, and her mistress was very grateful. Lucian was shocked Feronia had said that even small wounds required careful care because they could become infected. Feronia apologized for her tactlessness. The boy remarked that the lady was not at all what they said. The girl was surprised to hear rumors about her. He'd heard that Feronia was a very outspoken person. Must have heard that the Marquise's daughter has a bad temper. Even if no one says it, she knows because it's true. If it were the real Feronia sitting in front of Lucian now, and not the main character, she would look at him with a look full of contempt. But now, it's all different because she's a staunch pacifist and a respectable citizen who wants a second protagonist who goes mad. Feronia said that the rumors were simply provocative stories created by people who had nothing better to do than talk. And she asked again if it differed from their words. Even more than different. Not even by 360, but by a full 1,488 degrees. Lucian confirmed this. He apologized and told the lady he had been greatly mistaken. Feronia said everything was fine. She wished he wouldn't smile like that because it was bad for her heart. It was completely different from the cruel smile that had been on his face just recently. She can't control her heartbeat. It's for the best. The chance of being killed by a crazed co-protagonist has been reduced by 0.01%. The previous awkward atmosphere had vanished, and the conversation with Lucian continued much more casually. And now, when they had more or less relaxed and she was wondering whether she should get down to business, she asked him if he had heard. Lucian had no idea what she was even talking about. In 2 weeks, their engagement ceremony would be held at Feronia's house. Lucian knew about this. 2 years had passed since their engagement, but the ceremony had not yet taken place, because Lucian had spent all that time at war. As soon as the victory was announced, my father postponed the engagement ceremony date my father is preparing with all his might. Moreover, this is the first official banquet he will attend since the victory in the war. He himself agreed. Whether he was cursed by a demon or not, Lucian remained the most famous knight in the empire. And since he is the main character of the ceremony, it is natural that many will want to attend it. Father donated everything to decorating the banquet hall and sent invitations to all the influential people in the empire. They say all the most influential aristocrats will be present at the banquet. And the saint. You could just look at him. It's all written on his face. Estelle can't recognize his tender feelings. It's that same love Feronia thought he was a coward. She doesn't like that he continues to avoid Estelle out of fear of revealing his feelings. If only Cardian would express them even a little, Lucian might not have gone mad, so she decided to help him. She said that since a saint would be present at the ceremony, she could help him. Feronia submit Yola that they can ask her for a blessing dance. A blessing dance is literally a dance with a saint. And since this is an indirect use of the saint's powers, such as healing wounds, Estelle will easily dance with the heroes of the occasion. A simple dance, taking turns with the bride and groom. This will be the main character's goal. She asked Lord Cardian again if he was okay with it. Until now, he deliberately avoided meeting with Estelle, but now he had no other choice. And it's not just a simple meeting. They will meet each other's eyes, take each other's hands, and feel each other's warmth. Then Estelle will be able to understand the feelings Lucian was hiding from her. If all goes well, a connection could form between them. It's unclear whether this will change the original story, but even if it doesn't, she could earn some extra points in Lucian's favor. She thought it was a brilliant plan. The man told the lady it would be difficult. Feronia thought Lucian was a fool because he was sure he wanted to miss out on a wonderful opportunity. He actually really likes the saint? He thinks so, but he'll never say it. Lucian said he can't dance. The main character didn't understand what it was and thought he was joking, but his face was completely serious. Feronia didn't expect this at all as it wasn't mentioned in the original. The prince who leaped out of the fairy tale turned out to be a handsome man who couldn't dance. But if you think about it, it makes sense. Lucian is an orphan after all, and he's lived on the battlefield since he was 12. He rarely attended banquets, so he never learned to dance. Lucian apologized to Lady Feronia. The main character couldn't understand why he had become so sullen. Her hard-earned 0.1% favorability was quickly evaporating. Feronia said he had nothing to apologize for. For every skill a man has, there's also one he can't master. In war, he destroys enemies with his dance of death, even if he's not so good at receptions. The main character wondered what she was even saying. It sounded more like sarcasm than consolation. The girl announced she had something in mind. She would teach him to dance. This greatly surprised Lucian. After all, they were supposed to dance at the ceremony anyway, and starting the search for a dance teacher now would be a bit inappropriate. They'll keep moving in that direction until Lucian's feelings change. Feronia said that he was not so rude as to refuse the sincere intentions of his bride. The fish had bitten. The main character was tired. Her father asked Feronia how their meeting with Lord Cardian had gone. He noted that first meetings are always a bit awkward, and he understood that perfectly. It was exactly the same when he first met her mother. The awkward atmosphere left his mouth permanently dry. He drank 5 cups of tea, and looking at this, her mother asked if he was ill, and perhaps she was thinking about breaking off the engagement. Her father, the Marquis of Lilac, is a rare chatterbox, but she's not going to stand there and listen to him talk. She can't stand it anymore. Feronia remarked that they had a good chat. Her father asked if Lord Cardian was well and if he was injured. It doesn't matter how brave a knight is. He's been on the battlefield for so long. Feronia said he's fine. The girl said she was tired and would go to her room. Her father told her not to forget that, for the sake of her family, she must win the lord. She thought it was simply ridiculous. The Marquis of Lilac's family business had gone bankrupt, leaving only a name. And Lucian was a hero of the empire with a bright future favored by the emperor. So, Feronia was betrothed to a man she despised. The problem was that even after the engagement, Feronia made no secret of her disdain, and this constantly irritated her father. He was afraid that Lucian would get tired of this and break off the engagement with his arrogant daughter. But her father needn't worry about that anymore, because before he breaks off their engagement, she will. Feronia had thought it all out herself, and Lucian wouldn't want to marry a girl he was forced into a betrothal to, so his relationship with Estelle needed to be nurtured. The mistress told Annie to bring her writing materials. The maid went. A letter for Estelle asking her to dance a blessing dance with them. She wondered if it would sound strange since they didn't know each other. But she's Lucian's friend, and maybe she'll listen at least for that reason. And another thing, tomorrow she'll be visiting the mansion. It sounds like she's emphasizing that she's his fiancée. She asked Emma to send the letter and make sure he received it today. The territory Lucian received from the Emperor after winning the war is far to the north. Therefore, when he's in the capital, he stays in a mansion. After all, he was a knight blessed by the Emperor himself. Feronia believed she had nothing to fear. Although she's been downhill for a while, she's also the daughter of a high-ranking marquis and a beauty too. Lucian was shocked when she arrived. She thought she'd be greeted by a butler, so she was careless, but she doesn't understand what that means. The atmosphere around him is completely different from the last time they met. For her, who is so weak in the face of the secondary protagonists, and especially in front of handsome men, it's too harsh. In fact, he's not at all used to wearing suits. They restrict his movement. But if she was uncomfortable, he could go and change. But it wasn't like that at all. She felt like her nose was about to bleed. Lucian asked again what she meant. Feronia simply said she liked the way he looked now. She thought he thought she was strange. Such a large mansion, but there were almost no servants. Even those who worked there had left. Feronia asked if he even knew how to dance. Lucian said he could only say hello. The girl said they didn't have to learn ballroom dancing. It would just be a simple waltz. He's not at all complicated unless, of course, he wants to become the king of dance in social circles. Lucian understood her. So first you have to stand facing each other. She even chose high heels, but she still has to lift her head high to look him in the eyes. Then they must meet each other's gaze. Bright red eyes like rubies. And how can people say that such beautiful eyes are cursed? Lucian asked the lady if she needed to stare at him so intently because he felt a little awkward under her gaze. Feronia said that eye contact is the basis of dancing. Therefore, it's essential and he should accept it. Before the dance, you have to greet him, then take his partner's hand. Even through the gloves, you can feel what kind of hands he has. The lady said she'd teach him step by step. It's a bit complicated, but he needn't worry. After all, Lord Cardian is one of the most influential people in society. It was foolish of her to say so, but it was true Feronia might be rude, but she knew how a noble lady should behave. Although she was greatly mistaken when she acted arrogantly, Feronia said that the right foot goes first, not the left. At that moment, he needed to put his left foot forward. Lucian apologized. When he turns to first position, she couldn't understand how he'd ended up so far away. The man had said he'd be right back again. A few days later, the music continued to play after the dance had ended. It was awkward, Lucian agreed. Lucian has no sense of rhythm at all. He's like a log. The man apologized, saying he'd never danced before and didn't know how to do it better. And in the end, it's not for him, so he suggests they end it. Feronia asked if she'd said she wanted to end her lessons with him. After all, she offered to teach him dance, so it's up to her to decide when the lessons will end. And she's not going to stop him right now. With such a stunning body, he moves like a broken wind-up doll. They can't embarrass themselves at the engagement ceremony. After all, he's her favorite character. Back to back and simultaneously turning. Every time Lucian makes this turn, he finds himself in a faraway land. People are capable of anything. His steps are still out of sync and out of rhythm, but progress is noticeable. Her efforts are not in vain. Feronia praised the Lord. At least now it looked like a dance. Lucian asked if it hadn't been like that before. The girl confirmed this, and it seemed to her that they were summoning the Demon King from another world. They did a great job, and she asked if he was thirsty and offered him some tea. The man agreed. He had juice. She was glad to learn a small fact about Lucian that wasn't mentioned in the novel. He asked Lady Feronia if he could ask her a question. He couldn't understand why she was helping him so hard. Feronia said that he was his fiancé after all, and she wasn't going to listen to people who would say that her fiancé was a terrible dancer. The main character was very worried about whether this sounded too banal. Feronia told him not to misunderstand her. She didn't mean to imply that she was ashamed of Lord Cardian. Lucian understood after all Lady Feronia was his friend. He was talking about what she wrote in her first letter. She was very curious to know if he liked it. Lady Feronia is the second person to say this to him, so this letter is extremely important to him. The first was Estelle. Feronia asked if he was talking about the saint who brought him to the capital and helped him become a knight. There was no need to ask because she knew everything perfectly well. Estelle, who saved people from slums across the empire. She brought Lucian, who lived like a beast, to the countryside. If she hadn't done it, he would have died. Under Estelle's tutelage, Lucian truly saw the world for the first time. He learned to speak, right-wield a sword, and communicate with others. It was only natural that he would begin to feel warm feelings for such a person. Feronia said that if she were in his place, she would fall in love with the saint. She would confess her love to the man who saved her from hell every minute, every second. Lucian said she must be joking. If someone as hateful as he confessed anyone would run away without looking back, especially a saint. The girl said she doubted it, unless the saint had eccentric tastes. He asked if she thought the saint would really do something like that. Feronia told him to go crazy. He didn't understand. The girl realized he didn't know this because he'd been at war for so long. This is a very popular phrase among ladies these days. It is used to express admiration in a positive sense. The girl would like to say that no one will be offended if he confesses his feelings, so she asked him not to run away. Lucian said the lady was indeed right. The protagonist agreed and understood this perfectly well, so he simply wanted her to do it. Feronia arrived a little early today. A butler greeted her and said he would show her to the reception room. Lucian was uncomfortable with people, so he wanted as few servants as possible. Therefore, Paul was responsible for both the management of the mansion and the servants. Although he is a faithful servant who has taken on all his master's work, he has one flaw. He knew the previous Feronia. It's written all over his face that he's wondering what the hell this woman is up to. She turned to Paul and said that he might not believe it, but he was coming to help the Lord from the bottom of his heart, so he didn't have to worry. Feronia was trying to make him understand that they were friends. Paul didn't understand why she was telling him this, and he clearly remembers what she said 4 years ago. She said she would never admit that a monster born of a commoner and cursed by a demon had been knighted. He doesn't understand why she's asking him to believe her sincerity. It's a shame that was in the past, and now she's a big fan of Lucian. The girl didn't understand where he was. He had fallen asleep while he waited, most likely training all night. Looking at the progression of his movements during the dance, it becomes clear that Lucian still trains for a long time every day after she leaves. He wants to look good in Estelle's eyes. Feronia said that if he likes the saint so much, he should be bolder. Whether Estelle will accept his feelings is another matter entirely. She simply hopes that the feelings he's hidden for so long won't drive him crazy. Feronia asked how he slept. He said he was fine, and the girl asked if he wanted more. Lucian mumbled something. Feronia told him to get some sleep in that case. The boy woke up abruptly and asked when she had arrived. The lady said she had arrived half an hour ago. He apologized for greeting guests like that. But the girl said everything was fine and she'd simply seen enough of the beauty. Lucian asked what that meant. The guy said he must look disheveled and said he would clean himself up and come back. Feronia said it wasn't necessary because he looked great. His hair had gotten a little tangled while he was sleeping. She was even envious. Lucian said she was telling him things he'd never heard before. Feronia thought he was uncomfortable, but he denied it. His cheeks flushed and a smile appeared on his face. The day of the engagement ceremony, the maids were running around telling their mistress that she was simply amazing. But the main character thought she wasn't that beautiful. But she liked Sister Shen's style. It was a great job. Feronia said she would give Emma a bonus and a day off any day. The maid promised to be faithful to her for the rest of her life. And she said that no one would be able to take their eyes off her and that Mr. Cardian would definitely fall in love with her at first sight. The girl admitted that she looked good, but for a man with such sad, unrequited love as Lucian, there were no other girls. She was completely consumed with concern for Lucian's feelings, so she did everything she could to cheer him up before the ceremony. Feronia said that if a person has such an eye color, it is not common to see it on an ordinary person, but on a beautiful person, it only adds to their attractiveness. Lucian was grateful for such words, but he wasn't as handsome as she said. Feronia told him to look in the mirror for 5 seconds. And after that, he should look at Paul. The girl saw the squid too, and if he keeps looking at it, he'll see Paul again, so he shouldn't worry. She felt sorry for Paul, of course, but it worked for Lucian. After that day, Lucian no longer denied it. Feronia felt like he was slowly gaining confidence. Her father asked Feronia if she was ready. The girl was ready and said she was on her way. When she saw Lucian in front of her, her mouth dropped open in shock. She noted that the Lord was early today. She added that he looked wonderful. And she said that she too tried to dress up in her best, but couldn't outdo him. Lucian was very confused by what she said. She noticed that he was trying to tell her something. She assumed it was a compliment. The Lord said, "Go crazy." Lucian asked Lady Feronia why she laughed so much earlier. She laughed because he was so cute. It was crazy. Feronia was shocked that Estefan had come too. He doesn't often show up at banquets like this. But their engagement must be a big deal, and he's immediately caught by his chatterbox father. Feronia told the Lord that the engagement had been forced upon her by her family and His Majesty, the Emperor, who had never intended to marry her. So he needn't worry about her. Lucian didn't understand what she was talking about. Even if a woman showed up during the ceremony, she wanted to tell him not to think about her feelings but to act as his heart dictated. She was afraid he wouldn't be able to open up to Estelle because of his sense of responsibility or guilt towards her, but she doesn't understand what's wrong with his face. The Prince of the Empire has arrived. Feronia was in complete shock when she saw him. She had no idea what this man was doing there. Crown Prince Calix. He was the real protagonist of the novel and a rare idiot. A dumbass who only realizes how much he loves Estelle after she leaves. That's the kind of protagonist this novella is. Calix, a handsome man with jet black hair and eyes and a strong yet ambivalent personality. The Crown Prince told Lucian that he wasn't here of his own free will. Her parents forced her to come here. Lucian thanked him for his kindness. The protagonist and co-protagonist were under incredible pressure. Feronia greeted His Highness the Prince of the Empire. Calix said he had heard of her. The male lead won't pay attention to anyone but the female lead, so he treats her like a speck of dust on his clothes. He heard her make a special request of the saint and asked if it was true. She asked her to dance a blessing dance. With himself and Lord Cardian, it's precisely at this time that Calix is acting like a jerk. His obsession with Estelle is very noticeable. She couldn't understand whether he meant that Estelle would be offended by her dancing with Lucian. The lady considered him childish. He suddenly looked towards Feronia. She didn't understand why he was glaring at her. She felt a little scared. Lucian took the liberty of saying that he wanted to ask him not to look at her like that. The prince asked again. Feronia was shocked that he wanted to stand up for her. In the novel, Lucian had no interest in Feronia at all. Just think Lucian said that for her sake now. 2 weeks of dance training weren't wasted. The prince asked Lucian if he dared speak to him in such a tone, calling him a dog who had sworn allegiance to the imperial family. Feronia hoped she wouldn't die of suffocation right then and there. She tried to say something to His Highness and Lucian, but then she saw Estelle before her, the novel's heroine and everyone's favorite saint, a girl with an unremarkable appearance, but with a wonderful character that wins the hearts of many, the heroine of this novel and a beloved saint. She's simply extraordinary, not a majestic beauty with delicate features, but an innocent face that's impossible to hate. Estelle said it was rude of her because she should have greeted the guest of honor first. The saint was grateful to Lady Feronia for the invitation to such a wonderful celebration. She Saint Estelle Shengaria. Feronia said she should be grateful the saint had accepted her invitation. She thought Estelle was a sweetheart. She told Feronia they hadn't seen each other for a long time and asked how she was getting on. The prince said she remained as clumsy as a commoner. Feronia thought he acted like a high school dropout Estelle had trained so hard, but she still looked ridiculous. And next time, she'll greet her properly. The prince said something, but Estelle told Lucian that she congratulated him on his engagement. The lord was very grateful to Lady Estelle. Feronia tugged at Lucian and whispered if everything was all right. The father greeted everyone and said that he was grateful for them to come to the ceremony of his beautiful daughter Feronia and the Knight of the Empire, Lord Lucian. This hall has been welcoming people for 300 years. The first Marquess of Lilac and his ancestor Richmond were married here. It was designed by Leonardo Doyo, a renowned architect of the time. He used the finest marble, Le Marble, which still shines after 300 years. The prince asked who had asked that question. His mother said that he would conclude his greeting with that. Even without asking, it's clear as day what they mean. The daughter of a noble marquise is engaged to a commoner. Some will mock her because she gave up her pride, while others will pity her for linking her life with a damned man. Feronia asked Lucian if he was nervous. She urged him to relax as her lessons weren't easy. And even if there is someone who dares to laugh at him, she will scold him. The ladies said that they knew Lady Feronia was a good dancer, but this was the first time they had seen Lord Cardian dance so well. Besides, he looked so good. Of course, after 2 weeks of training, he didn't become king of the dance floor, but they managed to maintain their dignity. They only had one last move left, and she asked if he remembered that he shouldn't go far and stand still. But behind all these views, her selfishness begins to emerge. No matter what the villain does, the supporting character will never shine like the protagonist. But the main thing was that she was pleased with herself. Everyone watched with interest. Feronia asked Lucian how he was because he was still a little nervous. They bowed and the father asked who this wonderful couple was. In fact, on Feronia's birthday, the fortune teller who had named her had said something wise. Feronia will save the Empire from crisis, and Lord Cardian saved the Empire in this long war. That's what a heaven-bound couple means. The main character wanted her father to stop talking nonsense. She told Lucian that their dance was great. The Lord said it was all thanks to her. Feronia told them not to flatter her. Everyone stared at them. And then the man remarked that their dance was beautiful, and the lady wondered when he'd learn to do it like that. Her heart was pounding. Feronia told the Lord that the first mission was accomplished. The lady told the mistress that she would like to invite her to the next banquet. The main character agreed. After a while, interest in her and Lucian's pairing faded, and the banquet ball split into two factions. Everyone crowded around Cardian. Everyone was delighted to see him in the banquet hall and asked him to attend such events more often. Only the highest aristocracy ignores him, calling him a commoner, but not the younger generation. And there the atmosphere is 180 degrees different admirers of the Crown Prince. They said that despite all his busyness, he showed unimaginable kindness by visiting this place to congratulate the Knight of the Empire. Feronia really wanted to ask them if they knew that if it weren't for the main character, he wouldn't even consider them people. She would never have hung around the main character in front of the main character. She wondered if they felt like they were being stared at. Feronia wondered if the prince felt something boiling inside. He vehemently denied any attraction to her, so he couldn't approach her. The lady told Lucian that Estelle doesn't even pretend to notice him. He must do this to hide his feelings for as long as possible. And then Feronia heard someone say that even for a saint, it was too cruel to come to such a celebration and wear such a shabby dress. Another girl agreed, but she didn't understand why she was accepting a nobleman's engagement ceremony. She didn't understand what was going on in the minds of commoners. They unanimously asked Miss Feronia if she agreed with them, but she disagreed completely. People asked each other if they had heard that the saint had recently entered the Crown Prince's room without permission. She said she did it to treat his wounds, but isn't breaking into his chambers reckless? The lady couldn't tell whether this was licentiousness or ignorance. Feronia thought these ladies had completely lost their minds. Estelle isn't the kind of person to get caught up in such words and lose her temper. The problem is in her, and in the childishness of the main character, and the secondary protagonist who could go crazy at any moment. She needs to calm down. Despite her rather frivolous behavior, unlike the original, she's not dead yet. She needs to strengthen her position even further as quickly as possible, faster than the speed at which she bought tickets to idol concerts. Feronia said she thought the saint was doing a good job. She heard that the prince was not one to say that he was feeling ill. That day, even the court physician did not know how he was feeling. Only the saint noticed this and went to his chambers to heal him. She has a generous heart. She wasn't even afraid of the guard's threats. Feronia said the saint was the best of all. She had never been so grateful to have the blood of the chatterbox pope in her veins. The lady didn't think it was necessary to leave so silently. She turned to Mistress Estelle, and she asked if she could now request the blessing dance she had written about in her letter. The saint agreed. Feronia believed she had nothing to fear as long as she was by the main character's side. The lady said that since she was taller, she would lead the dance. She thought the saint was a sweetheart. It didn't matter how terrible the villains were. She didn't know how anyone could say such things to such a wonderful heroine. The girl asked if her words had offended the ladies. Estelle said everything was fine, and it wasn't the first time she'd heard something like that. Estelle has endured all sorts of hardships, like any leading lady. She's been persecuted, scorned, misunderstood, and drawn into conspiracies simply because she's a commoner. And yet she had to put up with all this because she is a saint. Feronia said that even if she had to listen to this constantly, it didn't mean she shouldn't be offended. And she had to put up with this attitude just because she was kind. It hurts, and they hate it more and more. So in such cases, she doesn't try to endure it. And it gets rid of everything that irritates you. Estelle told Mrs. Feronia that she was the first person to say that to her. Feronia had heard this phrase somewhere before. She said there was one more person with whom she needed to perform a blessing dance. Estelle herself confirmed this. Feronia called Lord Cardian and said he needed to dance with the saint. She nudged him toward the saint and wished him a good time. So that's what a father feels when he gives his daughter away in marriage. So harmonious. But suddenly the prince approached them. She didn't understand what Calix was doing there. He took Estelle's hand. Feronia was really angry at the fucking protagonist. Lucian took his hand. Calix asked him how dare he grab his hand. He said he would accept his punishment later and asked him to let go of Estelle's hand. Feronia knew she should have considered that this jealous brat could intervene at any moment. She couldn't understand how she could have been so careless. Estelle told Lucian she was fine and asked him to let go of his hand. Lucian called for Mistress Estelle. They left. The lady couldn't believe it was true. Lucian was left alone. Feronia believed it couldn't end like this. Lucian was looking forward to dancing with her, and perhaps Feronia could persuade her to stay. After all, Estelle treasured Lucian. She had just given him such a kind look. The guards told Feronia that His Highness had ordered that no one be allowed through. Feronia said she needed to tell the saint something urgently, but the servants said they had orders. Feronia began to ask if he knew who she was. She was Feronia Lilac, known throughout the empire for her nasty temper. She thought she could at least once draw on her evil past, but the guards said they couldn't let anyone through. The carriage drove away. Feronia fell to her knees, unable to comprehend how much effort he'd put into his training to stop himself from dancing like a broken doll. He slept so poorly that his face turned gray. He didn't want to confess. It was just... She heard footsteps behind her. It was Lucian. He knelt before his mistress. It was very unexpected, and she didn't know what to answer if he asked why she was looking like that. Lucian asked if she knew about his feelings. Feronia asked again. He said it was so obvious that he even understood what she was thinking. Feronia didn't understand what he was talking about. She didn't understand why he said her name with that expression. The man said he'd also like to know more about her and cupped her cheek. He asked if she'd give him a chance. Annie told the lady she was back and asked her how she was doing. But when she saw her mistress, she was shocked. Feronia greeted Annie and asked how her vacation had been. The maid came closer and asked the lady what had happened. Feronia said she hadn't taken care of her hair in days and said she was a supporting villain who would never get the main character's buff. The maid stood there perplexed, asking what she was talking about. But her mistress told her not to pay attention because she hadn't woken up yet. Annie said that she told the other maids to take care of her, and she was very curious what they were doing all this time. Feronia wished Annie wouldn't scold them too much. It was all Lucian's fault. He'd said he'd wanted to get to know her better, and the girl didn't understand what that meant. Of course, Feronia was a beautiful aristocrat, but that didn't matter. After all, Lucian has Estelle his first love, and it doesn't seem like Lucian's feelings for her will fade so quickly. Feronia told Annie that something was bothering her. She said it didn't happen to her, but to her friend. She remembered that Feronia was a villain and had no friends. Feronia clarified that this had happened to a friend of a friend. A man is in love with a lady, but no one knows about his feelings because he carefully hides them. But a woman appeared who noticed his feelings, and this man understood it, and asked her if she knew what he had told her. Annie wondered what he had said. Feronia said he had told her he wanted to know a little more about her. Feronia said that he wanted to get to know her better and asked her what she thought that meant. The maid asked if this was just flirting, but Feronia said it definitely wasn't. She doesn't know about the others, but Lucian isn't like that. Annie said that if not, then maybe it's as he said. Feronia asked again what she meant. Annie said he said no one else knew who he was in love with. But suddenly, a woman came forward and found out about it. Annie said he was blackmailing the woman who had discovered his secret. By this, he says that he will keep an eye on her, so she should keep her mouth shut, otherwise he will simply kill her. Feronia asked Annie how she was so smart. The maid said she was exaggerating. Now the girl is sure Annie is right, and the reason is that in the original, there was an aristocrat who discovered Lucian's secret feelings. When he was searching for information about his weaknesses, he lost his life for telling the saint everything. This speaks volumes about how much Lucian didn't want his feelings to be known. That's it, she knew nothing anymore. She recalled telling him that if she were in his place, she would fall in love with the saint, and that no one would be offended if he confessed his feelings. She wondered what he was thinking every time she teased him, pretending that she knew everything. Feronia just started crying because she felt like she was in deep shit. Ever since she realized she might reach the end. Unexpected, the girl locked herself in her room. She didn't want to meet Lucian, but reality was cruel. She was informed that the Lord had arrived. Feronia claimed to be ill if only the doctor hadn't said she was faking it. Her father wouldn't have invited Lucian. He was asking Lady Feronia how she was feeling. She couldn't believe that the maid was leaving her alone with someone who would kill her at some unknown time. Lucian asked Lady Feronia if she would mind if he entered the room for a moment. The lady said she did not mind. She began to worry that she had been too rude in her response. Feronia said she looked terrible now. Lucian said that in that case, he would close his eyes. She was shocked. The guy asked if it was possible, even in that scenario. The lady couldn't understand why he sounded so miserable. She hoped he wasn't standing outside the door looking like an abandoned puppy. Feronia allowed him in. He was grateful, but the lady considered pretending to have amnesia and wondered what he would do if that happened. But the moment he entered the room, all thoughts instantly flew out of her head. He told the lady that they hadn't seen each other for so long, holding a large bouquet in his hands, and was blindfolded. Feronia was shocked and asked him if he really had closed his eyes to enter. Lucian said he had promised. Flowers are a gift for a sick lady. Feronia wondered if that wasn't too much for someone pretending to be sick. Lucian said that the one who pretends to be sick is also sick, and he noted that he was very worried. Feronia asked him if he really couldn't see anything right now, and he confirmed it. The girl said he behaved quite naturally, even with his eyes closed. Lucian said it was thanks to the intuition of a battle-hardened warrior. Feronia still couldn't avoid him forever. She decided to take advantage of this opportunity and say what she wanted. It had been too brazen of her to interfere in his affairs, and that it wouldn't happen again. Lucian asked if she was avoiding him because of his words that day. He had the feeling they hadn't pleased her. Lucian apologized and said that if anyone heard something like that from him, they wouldn't like it. Feronia said that wouldn't happen because he was amazing. He asked again, and the lady said she had already told him. There is no woman who doesn't like a handsome man, and Lord Cardian is a handsome man. The same applies to his words about wanting to get to know her better. Lucian had to convince himself that he should avoid other people. She didn't want him to think that Lucian asked why, then she didn't want to see him. Feronia didn't know what to say. The lady said they were already engaged. She was a little surprised to hear such words. After all, they had no reason to get to know each other. Lucian said yes. Feronia asked the reason they had been betrothed without his or her consent. This was done for the sake of the relationship between His Majesty, the Emperor, and Marquise Lilac, but he wants a less formal relationship between them, and more sincere. That's why he wants to know more about her. This was somehow unexpected for Feronia, but coming here wouldn't help him get to know her better. She asked him what would happen if he saw something unpleasant, and he wouldn't want to marry her. And she asked him if he could break off the engagement. He agreed. If everything went according to plan, then she could survive. He took off his mask and said that he even said he could break off the engagement. Lucian asked to be allowed to ask her again. Would she let him get to know her better? Feronia agreed without hesitation. He asked her what she liked. Feronia said she liked beautiful and sparkling things. Lucian asked what she didn't like. The girl said she didn't like protagonists who were unconditionally cruel to supporting villains. Lord didn't understand what she meant. Feronia said she often spouted nonsense and asked people to ignore her. Lucian wrote it all down on paper. The girl couldn't even imagine that this was what he meant when he said that he wanted to know about her. He wrote on a piece of paper that she often talks nonsense. This irritated Feronia a little, and she sighed. The lady asked the Lord if he truly thought he could get to know her through these questions. And answers? He said he could to a certain extent. Feronia agreed. So she doesn't understand why they can't just end this stupid interview, and asks if they should try doing something together. Lucian didn't understand what she was talking about. Feronia told him she had a hobby. Lucian asked her if she really enjoyed it. The girl said she really enjoyed it. Feronia decided to indulge her fantasies a little. Feronia said that this season, simple black suits are in fashion in social circles. Lucian said that she herself said that she liked beautiful and sparkling things, but he was not like that at all. She asked again. He stood there in his formal black suit with such an expression on his face. Simply strange. Feronia said the black suit suited him very well. She would say he looked like a gracious gentleman with a touch of decadent beauty. And she also liked the light blue shirt they had tried on earlier, the color of the shirt and the blue scarf. They went perfectly with his white skin. The look was stunning. She also liked the riding suit. After all, these clothes are made for people with perfect figures, because when Dad puts on a suit, his belly looks pathetic, but his belly is gorgeous. Although her father constantly cut her allowance when their income began to decline, the amount she saved in a couple of months was quite substantial. Feronia ordered this to be packed. Pack all the clothes they tried on today. Lucian asked Lady Feronia if she was going to give him all those clothes. She certainly was. Otherwise, she wouldn't have kept him here for hours. The Lord was grateful for her sincerity, but perhaps he shouldn't. She had no reason to accept such an expensive gift. Feronia said she enjoyed giving beautiful people clothes that matched her taste. She called it the joy of life. Lucian tried to object, but Feronia practically knelt down and began to read. In the end, he agreed. It all happened so unexpectedly that he couldn't even thank her properly, and he began to express his gratitude to her. Feronia asked if he would fulfill one more request of hers as a thank you. He asked what it was. When he wants to meet her, she asks him to come wearing the clothes she gave him because she wants to see him in those suits again. When she looked at him, she saw a cutie in him. She wondered what his face would be like if she told him to come in those clothes because she wanted to take them off him. Lucian wondered what she was thinking about with such a happy expression on her face. Feronia said she was thinking about nothing of the sort. She just likes to think about the banquet in a few days. Lucian said she mentioned the Marquis's carriage was broken. He wondered if it would be repaired in time for the banquet. Feronia said she thought that would be problematic. The lady said they'd probably have to rent a carriage. In that case, Lucian said they could go together. Feronia was surprised and asked again. Lucian had said she could think of it as payment for clothing. Lady Feronia was ready. Annie said she needed to buy herself a new necklace. Her dress and jewelry were all out of fashion. The girl said the family situation isn't the best right now, and she's talking about such extravagance. This isn't a very important banquet. Just tea with noble ladies. That's enough. Feronia spent all her savings on clothes for Lucian. Feronia said it was time to go. Lord Cardian must be waiting. Annie said he truly valued her. The Lord came and said he would take her to the banquet. Feronia said he was a kind man. Annie said it was love. The mistress told Annie not to even dare think about such nonsense. She understood her mistress. Feronia couldn't understand this ominous premonition her father had told Lucian that no one had ever won his heart except him. And he thinks only in youth can one say that youth is a beautiful pair, and he laughs. Feronia asked her father what she was doing there. He said he had a ton of work to do in the morning. He said he'd finished early, and when he came home, he found Lord there waiting for her. He thought he was bored and decided to talk to him. Feronia asked Lucian if he was okay. He said he was fine. She apologized for the delay in getting ready. What had she been counting on, and if she had known she would have hurried? Feronia asked if she looked well today. Lucian said yes. Feronia asked him who taught him to be so cunning. He said no one taught him, he simply told the truth. They had to get going before they were late. It was immediately obvious that the carriage the Emperor had given them was simply stunning. Like a flower with a sword, it suits Lucian very well. The Lord invited the lady into his carriage. This is the taste of money. Lucian was worried about the lady's comfort. Feronia said she could ride in a carriage like this all year round. The Lord told her to get comfortable because they would be there soon. Anyway, Lady Feronia has well-developed gluteal muscles, and it looks like he wants to record something similar. And by the way, she noticed that he wasn't wearing the clothes she bought him. She asked if it was uncomfortable. Lord said he hadn't put it on because after dropping her off, he'd have to go to the training ground. There's a high risk that the clothes will be damaged, and he didn't want that. After all, it was a precious gift to him. Feronia was very grateful for the ride, as she would have been extremely uncomfortable in a rented carriage. The lady said they would meet later. She was as happy as if she'd just ridden in a Mercedes. Suddenly, the Lord stopped her. The guy said the hairpin had slipped a little and everything was fine now. She couldn't understand why her heart was pounding over such insignificant things. Lucian told her to have a good time and added that he would arrive on time. The lady entered the hall. Everyone looked at her strangely. Feronia didn't understand what was going on or what the mood of the guests was like. The lady asked Feronia what a lady to whom a common saint was more important than aristocrats was doing in such a place. At the engagement ceremony, she didn't think that her words could reflect badly on her. The lady kept wondering why she had changed her behavior so suddenly. Looking at her today, she seemed to understand the reason. She heard that Marquis Lilac had been having financial problems lately, and that became a problem. And how desperately she tries to get help from the saint after all. If the saint doesn't help the unfortunate woman, how can she cure illnesses? If she was so good, then she could help her too. Feronia was shocked by them and couldn't understand how it was possible to be so nasty. She was already starting to think about throwing herself at her and grabbing her by the hair. But she understood that Feronia had to be patient. The main character understood that since the author had conceived this plot, there was nothing she could do. But something was wrong with them. The real Feronia would be sitting safely at the central table. Let the fierce battle begin, even though she doesn't want it. Feronia doesn't understand why all these fights are happening. Instead of tearing each other's throats out, they should take care of each other. The heroine decided that if she sat as quiet as a mouse, they would forget about her. The lady added that Feronia had arrived here in the Lord's carriage, and they both seemed quite friendly. Not long ago, no matter how much His Majesty the Emperor cherished this knight, and everyone treated him like a commoner. Apparently, for the same reason, he kept the saint. She asked again, not because he wanted to get something from them, independence from their origin, The lady said poverty was so frightening, Feronia wished it were more frightening. The Lord donated all the bonus he earned after winning the war to charities. She asked if they thought the saint was bewitching men. Everyone remembered Lady Feronia's betrothal ceremony. His Highness the Crown Prince grabbed her hand and led her away. It's all because Estelle Buff is the leading lady. She attracts the crowd. They all thought the saint was a slut. Feronia stood up and addressed Lady Erica. She didn't understand what was going on. The girl said she'd lost her appetite and was asking if she could please shut up. Erica said she might not understand yet, but no one was on her side right now. Feronia said she understood everything perfectly, and she asked again if she was currently talking about her engagement to Duke Garcia. If rumors were spreading that a lady had grabbed another lady's hair at a tea party, she asked Erica who would be worse off, her or Erica. Feronia told her that if she spoke louder than she should watch her words, and if she's a noble lady, she should know about it. Lucian arrived and asked her if something had happened at the banquet. The ladies leaving the mansion were very pale. The same faces were on the soldiers who had seen monsters on the battlefield. Feronia said it looked like their makeup was ruined. It would be polite to say they didn't notice Lucian was shocked. The Lord ordered her to get into the carriage. She noticed someone staring at her. These glances from Lady Erica irritated her greatly. She asked him if she would be hosting a banquet in a month. A banquet in honor of His Highness the Crown Prince. That's right, that very one. According to the book's plot, a month later at a banquet in honor of Calix's birthday, an unpleasant incident will occur. The so-called Saint Mockery incident. Feronia and her aristocratic friends mocked Estelle's shabby attire. Calix arrived too late, and Lucian was avoiding Estelle, so he wasn't at the banquet at all. He's the incompetent second lead. Lucian asked her if he'd done anything wrong. Feronia wondered what he would do in the future. No matter how much she thought about it, nothing came of it. The answer is that only a noble lady can deal with a noble lady. The girl told the Lord that they had not known each other for very long, but she thinks they have already established a decent, trusting relationship and asked him if he agrees. She thinks so too, which is why Feronia has a favor to ask him. She asked him if he would lend her some money. Lucian was in complete shock and kept asking her. She didn't understand what to do if he didn't want to. If things go really bad, she might steal the money her father had put aside for an emergency. Lucian agreed and asked her to name the amount she needed, and he would take care of everything. Feronia was shocked and asked again. Feronia was thinking about choosing a dress, accessories, shoes, and makeup for Estelle first. Lucian turned to the girl and asked how long they would remain like this. Feronia apologized and said she'd forgotten herself. The girl said that she would never cheat or extort money from him, and this is true. The Lord asked if she always borrowed money this way. Feronia denied it, saying it was her first time. The man said that if she needed money, she could ask for it. However, she should never borrow money from anyone else like that ever. He handed her 500 gold pieces. Feronia asked if he should ask why she needed so much money. The Lord asked if it was to buy nice clothes for the person she liked. Feronia was shocked that he knew. The man noted that she herself had said that this was the joy of her life. It was true, and Feronia was glad he remembered. She began to think he was already regretting lending her the money. Feronia decided she needed to hide it quickly before he changed his mind. With a sum like that, Estelle would put all the aristocrats to shame. The only problem was how to get Estelle to wear the clothes she'd bought. If Feronia tells Estelle to appear at the banquet in the dress she gave her, she will definitely refuse. She's just a supporting villain with no connection to her. She won't listen to her, and it's unclear how she can redeem her. The next morning, Annie asked the lady if she was going alone. Feronia confirmed it. Even so, she doesn't understand why she wouldn't invite Mr. Cardian along. He's been following her around lately, just like a duckling follows his mother duck. But Feronia disagreed, and the maid didn't understand why. It was because she was going to meet Estelle, and she couldn't say that. If her father heard, everyone in the capital would know. The girl said that she didn't like making people worry about her and asked them not to worry because it wasn't as difficult as she thought. Annie decided not to object and told her mistress to be careful. She left the mansion. Feronia knew, of course, but things were really bad. The men there looked like dead fish. Here it was, the medical center run by Estelle's volunteer group. She came in, and the woman asked her why she was there. Estelle approached them and was very glad to see Lady Feronia. Estelle asked her if she was sick. Feronia said she'd eaten a whole pie that day, and it was good for her health. The saint asked why she was there. Then Feronia said she had come to work for these unfortunate people, and she wants to help as a volunteer. Estelle was shocked that she wouldn't donate money but would instead work independently. Feronia said she didn't know how long she could help, but she wanted to give her strength to helping the poor. That was complete nonsense. She was here to fertilize her. As soon as she became imbued with her care, she would immediately leave. Estelle said that even at her engagement ceremony, she felt what a good person she was. Helping and working hard with Estelle, Feronia thought this would be the most effective way to win her favor. Once they get to know each other better, it will be easy for her to get her to wear the dress she bought. She was too presumptuous. They ordered the bed linen to be changed because Mr. Carmen had vomited blood and it was all on the bed. Feronia also ordered Mr. Jallo to be stopped because they say he draws with poop on the toilet walls. Mr. Leschel had urinary problems, and Feronia was asked to help him. She didn't understand the level of complexity required for a romantic novel. She was already thinking about simply giving up. After all, Estelle didn't care what she wore to the banquet. True, anyone can give up because it's hard, and she decided to try to hold out for a few more days. Estelle asked if Feronia was tired. The saint said it would be nice if she had enough strength to heal everyone present. The main character did not understand how a person could be like this and believed that it was because she was a saint or because she was the main character. Feronia couldn't understand how anyone could be so devoted to people, Estelle asked, because she thought the lady wanted to ask her something. They brought a rather badly wounded man to them, and she asked them to put him to bed quickly. He said something about being a saint. The girl confirmed that she was a saint and that the man had asked her to heal him with divine power. If she didn't, he would lose both his legs. Estelle apologized and said she couldn't use divine power. She and the priest did everything they could to heal him. The stranger shouted that God had given her the power to heal people like him, and he ordered her to fix everything immediately. Because if he remained crippled, his family would die of starvation. Feronia knew he was desperate, but she thought it was too much. Feronia asked him if he left money for the saint, and she thought he was seriously mistaken about something. For the saint, healing his leg isn't a duty but a favor. Not something she's obligated to do, but something she does for him, even though she shouldn't. If he cannot accept the good intention with a pure heart, he can get out of here. He didn't understand what she was saying because he was sick. Feronia didn't know what to do. He refuses treatment, so he needs to be taken away from here. She ordered him taken away, and the man screamed that he needed treatment. The sick man cried out that he could wait. Feronia said that, of course he could wait. The person he needed most was here. He didn't understand who this woman was. Feronia asked the saint if the treatment had been successful. The girl said that the bone in one leg was simply broken, and if it healed well, it would return to normal. But the other leg was in too serious a condition, so he had to amputate it. Feronia said she did everything she could, so she shouldn't make such a face because her job is really well done. Estelle was very grateful. Everything she had said now and everything they had said earlier had given her strength. Feronia thought she'd be disappointed with what she'd said to the sick man. She'd already said she'd endured a lot. Being considerate of people is truly a wonderful thing, but if you take it too seriously, you can get hurt. Moreover, people will train even more from a saint if they are so ungrateful that they don't even want to ask for help properly. She had to put them in their place. Be they sick nobles or priests, whoever they were. Estelle agreed. The girl said that this was only her second meeting with Lady Feronia, and she knew little about her but wanted to become friends with her. Feronia said that she did too, and asked if this meant that from now on they would be friends. The saint agreed with a smile. A week later, patients were asking Nia to sing them a song. Even if you hate mental illness, don't hate people. The main character, and the second main character are gathered in one house. For some reason, she got used to all this very quickly. The main character is simply rude. The main character is too beautiful. And the second main character is as scary as death. Estelle was very happy, and so the week passed. She and Estelle had become close, even having dinner together afterwards. And she was already thinking about talking about the banquet Estelle called Nia. She offered food because she thought she was so busy she hadn't had a bite to eat. Feronia was grateful. Feronia asked if the saint had said that she would visit in honor of the crown prince's birthday, which would take place in a few weeks. Estelle agreed, and the girl asked if she had chosen a dress. The saint said she would wear the dress she had worn at their engagement party. No one will like it if a saint wears a fashionable dress. Her reaction is easily predictable. Saying she wants to make them look beautiful won't work. Feronia asked if it would be difficult for her to wear matching outfits with her. The saint was surprised and asked again. Feronia had said that they were popular among aristocrats these days when friends wore dresses of the same color and style. Feronia wanted to try dressing up with her, but she said it wasn't that important because she didn't want to burden her. It was a lie because what she really wanted was for her to be burdened. And she really wanted her to take the bait. Estelle said she thought it would be nice if the dress were inexpensive. Feronia, smiling, asked if that was true. The saint told Nia that she was right about her dress being quite old. Feronia was very pleased. The secret to dressing Estelle in a beautiful dress is, of course, this: matching outfits. Annie asked why the lady was wearing a dress today and asked if she was going to the flower house today. The lady said she had other plans for today. Annie was delighted and said she couldn't even imagine how nervous she felt every time she went there. When she goes through all these terrible things, she's been volunteering at the flower house for a week now. And now that she's become friends with Estelle, there's no point in her going there. However, when she arrived, Estelle greeted her mistress with a smile. Feronia said she would go there whenever she had free time. Annie was shocked and didn't understand why Feronia told Annie that she knew she was worried about her. But there are people in the world who have never seen Estelle greet them at the door, but anyone would want to see it again. The maid was someone who had never seen that smile. She asked the lady to wait and whether she had answered Mr. Cardian. It would be nice to spend some time with him, too. He sent her letters every 2 days, giving the impression he was desperate to meet her. The letter said that if she was not busy, he was wondering if they could meet tomorrow. The main character understood that she couldn't admit to secret meetings with Estelle. Lately, she'd been engrossed in reading very long novels. And Lord Cardian will understand. She was told she couldn't leave her room because of a very interesting book. But it seems she's not reading it today. There's nothing to be afraid of, as long as he's not obsessed with Estelle alone. Lucian is a perfectly sane man. She hoped he wouldn't kill her for leading him on for days. Feronia said she had a meeting for today, but he arrived today without warning, which means he is worried about the money he lent her. The lady said that she was not like that and that they had not even signed a contract to pay 10 times the interest if she did not return it by the due date. She won't demand the money back if she insists. Feronia is obliged to buy jewelry for Estelle so he should not cause her trouble. The lady asked again if that was the reason he was looking for her. Lucian denied it, and Feronia didn't understand why he was there. Their father called them because the tea was ready. He started saying something about the type of tea and when and where he bought it. If you add a little sugar and milk to it, it tastes like honey. And after dinner, Feronia assumed he had come to meet his father. It was an unexpected combination, but conversations with her father were a bit tiresome. The man turned to Lady Feronia. He said he wasn't there to return the money or to befriend the Marquis. He came because he missed her. Feronia was shocked and didn't understand what she had just heard. The girl said they hadn't seen each other for only a week. Lucian said it was a whole week. She'd never noticed the huge difference between just and whole. She didn't know what to do because she was so happy. It was as if he was trying to tell her whether Feronia would come out to play. The girl said he was right, but it wouldn't be difficult for her to change her plans today. Nia said she had to go. Lucian asked if she would tell him what the meeting was about. They were going shopping with a friend. Lord said he'd heard she had no friends. In the past, she would have burst into tears from such a barrage of facts, but not now. Because it's not true. She recently made a friend, a really wonderful one. They agreed to eat bread and go shopping when they met and exchange diaries. Exchange diaries. Lucian said that it would be great if she introduced him to this friend too. He asked her to tell him what kind of person he was. She paused and didn't even know what to say. Father asked why they weren't passing. Feronia was glad to hear him because it was just in time. Feronia asked her father why he didn't tell Lord Cardian that story. Today would be a fine day to hear it. A forbidden phrase that anyone who knows her father would never say, but she has no choice. Come to think of it, he hadn't told Lord Cardian that story yet, and he couldn't understand how he could have failed to tell such an important story. Father said that he was getting married, so they should hear this story. Hearing someone else's love story would be a great lesson. He didn't even know where to begin. Exactly, his love began when she was 5 years old, with his nanny, Efranda, who loved taking care of her. Feronia understood that once he started telling his love story, he would stop only after 2 days until he had told all the smallest details. The girl started to run away, mentally apologizing. She had to go because someone was waiting for her. Estelle was already waiting for her. Her beloved. Estelle was waiting for her. She apologized for being a little late and asked how long she had been waiting for her. Estelle said everything was fine and asked if she was okay. She wanted to know if anything had happened. Feronia felt sorry for Lucian, but nothing special, so she tells her not to worry. The main character thought she was a beauty. She asked if she had put on makeup. As expected, Miss Nia looks beautiful when dressed fashionably. Feronia said the pink ribbon suited her fair skin very well. Estelle asked if her face was puffy. Yesterday before bed, she was very hungry, so she ate a piece of bread. It was the same as usual. Feronia asked if her lips were too bright. The saint said the color suited her very well. The girl asked Estelle what kind of dresses she liked. And if she wanted to wear one all year round, a silk one would be fine. It'll get hot soon, so you might want to wear cotton. The saint said she didn't really know much about dresses. Estelle said it was her first time buying a dress on her own. Feronia was shocked that a 22-year-old woman was buying her first dress. The main character asked how she had chosen her dresses. Up until that point, the saint said they were gifts from priests. Feronia was shocked that she was saying that these village dresses were gifts. Damn priests. And one more thing. Estelle has been saving up, but it's only been a small amount. And she doesn't know if she'll be able to buy a suitable dress with such a small amount. Feronia told him not to worry because she knew a clothing store with affordable prices. The saint was delighted. That's why she asks. Estelle asked if this was the place she was talking about. The girl said that you can find pretty dresses at affordable prices in the store on the corner. When they entered, Estelle asked if they'd taken a wrong turn. Feronia said that looking at the mannequins and scraps of fabric, they seemed to be in the right place. Besides, the design looks very stylish and the designer's work is quite good. Saint couldn't figure it out no matter how much she looked. They were greeted at the Chanel designer clothing store. The owner named Chanel asked what dress they were looking for. Feronia said they were looking for a high-quality dress at an affordable price. She asked what their budget was. They said 300 gold coins for 2 dresses. It's impossible to find a good dress for that price. If only something cheap and worn. She asked if they were by any chance looking for something for His Highness's birthday banquet. The girls said that was true. Chanel said they were wonderful customers. Apparently, they didn't have a big budget. And she asked them what they thought about her making a dress for both of them completely free of charge. They were surprised. But there's one condition. The dress design will be entirely up to her. They'll just have to wear the finished dresses and attend the reception. Feronia decided to ask what she was getting out of it. Chanel said it was advertising. At a banquet where all the aristocrats would be gathered, rumors will spread about 2 beautiful ladies in wonderful dresses. Feronia asked her what she thought because it smelled like a great opportunity. The saint said that if she did this, she would not receive a penny for her hard work, and she did not like that at all. Chanel says they'll wear her dresses and advertise her store. That will be the best payment. Estelle still wasn't sure this dress was completely Feronia's style. What a pity. Chanel said that if it was inconvenient for her Madame Estelle, then it was okay. Estelle said she liked it too, and they would buy dresses from her. It was a great way to save money. A great decision. They definitely won't regret it because Chanel dresses will give them both only the best. They were very grateful, holy fish on the hook. The shabby building they entered with Estelle was Chanel's studio, but Chanel's head office is actually located in the capital's most fashionable district. She thought that Estelle would never accept her help and buy an expensive dress, so she made a night's move. Feronia said she wanted to make a dress, but Chanel said the entire order book was full. This was expected. Chanel is always inundated with orders from aristocrats, so it's not particularly welcoming to new customers. She asked if Chanel could let her make a dress for the saint. It was the first time the tailor had heard of Lady Feronia being able to tell a joke, because everyone knows the saint always wears old-fashioned dresses to every banquet. And she asked again if she would like to order a dress for someone like that. Even if she tried her best, the saint would never wear it. Nia said she would make sure the saint wore the dress. Chanel asked how Feronia said it was up to her to decide whether to believe her or not. The main character said she'd bring the saint and make her order the dress. Chanel agreed. But she was curious about how she was going to pay for the order. Feronia had said it wouldn't be in cash. It would be a deal, not a commission, Chanel asked again. Nia said she would make the dress for free, but the design of the saint's dress would be entirely her decision. She agreed, and they struck a deal. The flow of visitors to the store and the queues to Chanel were completely unnatural. She made it look like a coincidence, so her back was covered. If Estelle found out how popular Chanel was, she'd be fine. Feronia asked if they'd taken measurements. Estelle said they'd made the right choice. The designer is very meticulous. Nia said she'd come take measurements too. She approached Chanel and asked her if she was crying. Seeing her up close, she realized how truly wondrous her beauty was. Smooth white skin without a single blemish, a soft, fragile body, and flowing golden hair. Everything about her is sacred, inspiration. Chanel is overflowing with inspiration. Kindness, grace, beauty, charm, design, that has it all. Chanel said she had to make a dress right then and there. Feronia insisted on having her measurements taken too. The tailors said they couldn't imagine how lucky they were to have a Chanel dress for 300 gold pieces. The lady said it wasn't luck, but ingenuity. Nia had to have a dress like the saints. That was the whole point of the operation. She said that she repeats that the quality of the fabric and materials for the lady's dress will be lower compared to the saint's dress. Chanel told me to pay attention to this. It would be awkward if she came to her with complaints later. Of course, she understands that Feronia asked that everything possible be done for Estelle's dress. All measurements have been taken. Chanel said that when the sketch of the dress design was completed, she would contact them. Estelle hoped for a pleasant collaboration. Feronia wished Chanel good luck. This cafe has just recently opened, but is already on everyone's lips. She'd been out for a walk for a while now, but it was a shame to turn back just like that. It would have been nice to stop at a cafe and chat. The saint turned to Nia and said that thanks to her, they had found such a good store and saved money. And she would like to treat her to some delicious tea and dessert at some cafe if she doesn't mind. Nia agreed, and she said they could go to the cafe. She wanted to go to Estelle, was shocked, and said it was very beautiful there. As expected, this cafe is amazing. This cake looked just like Lucian's eyes. The saint asked Lady Nia what kind of cakes she would like to eat. Feronia would like cumulus clouds on a sunny morning after rain. The name suits it very well. It was delicious. Nia asked Estelle if she wanted to try a piece. But the saint, who doesn't like sweets much, asked her not to worry and declined. Attached is some interesting brochure. The charismatic prince of the Calix Empire or the handsome knight Cardian. Feronia couldn't understand who had written such a terrible article. She heard ladies sitting at the next table talking about the article. She asked Estelle who she thought was the better suitor of the two. The saint replied that she didn't know and had never thought about it. Feronia said she knew them both, so she could give a more precise answer. She remained silent. Estelle turned to Nia and asked her who she thought was the best suitor. It was Lucian, hands down. He's handsome and kind. He's also the most powerful knight in the Empire. On the other hand, he's the crown prince. If she marries him, the entire royal family will become related. She doesn't know what could be more terrible than that. The Emperor's living mother. Calix's real mother, the Empress, died long ago, so she temporarily took over the position. She places great importance on hierarchy, not overlooking even the slightest mistake by those below her in status. In the original work at the banquet to celebrate Calix's birthday, she even kicked Estelle out of the castle after the aristocrats laughed at her. That's what she is, one of the villains who was after Estelle. However, this time she won't be able to drive her out. After all, she would appear in the banquet hall more beautiful than anyone else. Feronia was very pleased. Estelle said that today, for the first time, she realized how great it is to spend time with friends. She really enjoyed it. Feronia said she did too. Estelle said she wanted to go for a walk with her next time they met too. The main character had an eerie feeling Lucian stood before her, asking her if she had a good time with her friend. She thought Lord Cardian had lost his mind. Estelle hadn't yet become close to the crown prince, so it was unclear what this was. Feronia wondered if she should run away right now, or if he would catch her quickly anyway. Father asked if Feronia had returned and noted that the house was a little dark. He told a story about a 16-year-old boy, which he tells all day long and involves countless amounts of water. In a trembling voice in the complete darkness, she said that she had never met a man like him. Everything was fine with Cardian. Feronia decided she needed to apologize immediately and snap him out of his pouting mode. The girl apologized and said that no matter how urgent the meeting with her friend was, she left her fiancé and disappeared. That was not right. Feronia said she was a disgusting bride and didn't even deserve to be eaten with. She would skip dinner and spend the night sitting in a chair brooding over her behavior. Lucian asked her not to say that because he had come to the marquis himself, and his father simply wanted to fix the chandelier. She was, after all, fulfilling the promise she'd made to her only friend, Feronia, asked him if he really thought so, and he confirmed it. Feronia said that if he thought so, then she asked him to accept it. Lucian asked what it was. Feronia said that she saw it in the store she went to today, and it was so beautiful that she bought it. Lucian asked if he could open it. The lady allowed him, and when he opened it, he found an incredibly beautiful cake before him. The lady was told that the roses on the cake were fresh flowers, and the whipped cream was made using pigments obtained by melting the roses. The Lord remarked that it was beautiful, but I understood why the gift was for him. Feronia said it was a cake. As soon as the lady saw him, she thought of it. Feronia said he resembled Lord Cardian's eye color. Lucian was simply delighted and thanked the lady. The girl was glad she had bought it. They began to leave. Feronia's father said he had much to tell them. The girl said that, as an apology for today, she would take the lord to the mansion. The guy said that it wasn't worth it because she must be very tired. Nia said that she was not tired at all and would just go back and forth in the carriage. The main character said that she thought they would arrive earlier than she thought. Lucian turned to the lady and said that if she didn't mind, he would like her to go out and take a little walk. Feronia was in complete shock. The man said he'd like to talk to her for a bit. The girl apologized again for what had happened earlier. She hadn't known he would be hearing from her father for so long. The guy said that it was difficult to stop him mid-sentence because he was so passionate, but it was quite interesting. Feronia was shocked that such a thing was even possible. It was the first time he'd heard someone's story told in such detail. Of course, it was a little difficult when he went back to that story. When he was 5 years old, her father had forgotten a lot. Lucian asked the lady if she had a good time with her close friend with whom they wanted to exchange diaries. Feronia said they went to the store and ordered dresses and then chatted a little in a cafe. And the girl is very sorry that she left him with his father, but she had a great time. Lucian wondered who this man was with whom she got along so well. He was a bright, shining, handsome friend. The boy said despairingly that he thought he was the one shining brightly. Nia thought she heard something incredibly sweet. Lucian asked if she had used the money she had borrowed from him to make a gift for her shining friend. Feronia said she tried, but it didn't work. Instead, she ordered a dress for herself with borrowed money. The Lord was surprised and asked again. Nia said that a banquet would be held in honor of His Highness's birthday in a little while. The deadline is a bit tight, but it's sure to be a stunning dress. And she's turned to the best designer. Feronia thought about how beautiful the saint would look in a designer dress. Lucian asked again if she was saying that she had ordered a dress for the banquet in honor of the crown prince's birthday. Feronia was shocked and didn't understand why he was angry. He announced that he would accompany her to the banquet. She didn't understand why, because in the original, it was a banquet for his rival's birthday. And Estelle will come there, the sight of whom breaks his heart, and that's why he didn't go. And if he goes, he'll find out that Estelle is her very friend. Lucian asked if she minded. She agreed, but was completely against it. The day of the prince's birthday banquet. Although a member of the royal family, he was still unengaged, because he couldn't find a woman worthy of becoming crown princess. And just by looking at the invitations, and who they're addressed to becomes clear, Annie announced that she's already finished. In fact, everyone's targeting the crown prince's status. Clothing stores in the capital recorded their highest sales ever quality as expected. No matter how good it looks, it's just average Nia would be as invisible as a mouse in it. Annie now realized how much she'd saved by downgrading the dress, but the style still didn't suit her at all. Because of her modest design, she can't even apply makeup properly. Her charm lies in the heavy eyeliner she wears, giving her a slightly stern look. The maid said she'd better wear something else. Feronia said everything was fine. Because today, the main character is Estelle. All the supporting villains will keep their mouths shut, and Calix will flirt with Estelle. She was told that Lord Cardian was expecting her. Everything would have been so fun if it weren't for Lucian. She's also worried about his reaction when he finds out she's close to Estelle. But it is unclear whether Lucian will be able to bear the sight of Estelle more beautiful than ever with Calix. He's going to lose his head today. Lucian said that if Lady Feronia is ready, they can go. Lucian asked again. She was shocked that he was wearing the clothes she had given him. He smiled and said yes. The Lord was damn handsome. In that case, they decided to leave already. Nia didn't understand what he was doing to her. It seemed like he was about to wink and start flirting with her. But she knew she shouldn't deceive herself. Even if he did flirt with someone, it would be with Estelle, not her. And then, maybe we could talk about Estelle. Normally, Feronia told Lord she needed to tell him a secret. Lucian asked what she was talking about. Feronia asked if he remembered what she said about a new friend. She confessed that it was Estelle the Saint. She didn't know how he would react and didn't know what to do if he didn't believe her. The girl asked if he knew about it. He confirmed it. Nia asked how, and the Lord admitted that Paul had told her. Feronia wondered who this Paul was. It was the same squid man with silver hair. Well, he probably noticed them walking down the street holding hands. Lord really doesn't mind her hanging out with the girl he's in love with. Lucian remarked that the lady looked completely different today. Nia was surprised by his remark and added that she had changed her style. Feronia said she thought it was beautiful this way too, and asked if it wasn't better this way. The girl asked again. Lucian had said that wasn't the issue. No matter how bad she looked, it was too much to react like that. Such an honest reaction sometimes makes people unhappy. She didn't know what to say. Everyone was shocked. The ladies approached the Lord. One asked if he remembered her because she had been at his engagement ceremony. Feronia didn't understand why people weren't paying attention to her. Although he was handsome, he seemed a little distant. The prince asked her what she was up to. Out of the blue, he came to congratulate him on his birthday. Calix asked him if he'd heard the saint was coming. Feronia knew he was obsessed with Estelle. Lucian said that wasn't true, and he was accompanying his bride. His gaze seemed to ask whether he had come to the banquet for such a woman. Excuses must be plausible. Lucian said he'd already told him not to look at her like that. When the prince saw Estelle, he was in complete shock. It was mind-blowing to look at his face. If he'd known he'd shown such a face to people, he'd have died of shame. She wondered what expression Lucian had on his face. Estelle said there were too many people in the banquet hall, so she was worried about what to do if she couldn't find her. She found them the first time the saint greeted His Highness the Crown Prince of the Empire. The saint told Lady Nia that she looked wonderful today and that bright clothes suited her, but a simple dress also looked great. She didn't even know what that feeling was. Feronia knew he was angry, but she hadn't done it on purpose. The prince said she looked as usual today, and it seemed she'd thrown away the rag-like dress she wore to every banquet. She used to be wary of associating with the imperial family and the nobility, but now she clings to the aristocrat, appearing a little sarcastic. And the prince asked her if she had finally grasped reality. Pronouncing such difficult words is also a kind of skill. The saint said she had something she wanted to tell Nia and suggested they find a quiet place. Quickly, Feronia said goodbye to the prince. Estelle told Lucian that she wanted to speak with Lady Nia alone, and he should not follow them either. The prince and knight were shocked Feronia wanted to tell them she had nothing to do with it. The saint apologized and asked if she was surprised that she had dragged her away so suddenly. Estelle said she felt a little awkward in public places, and the saint had a gift for her. This surprised Feronia. It was a brooch. Estelle asked her how she liked it. Feronia said he was exactly her type, but she couldn't understand why she decided to give her a gift. She knows everything, and she asked if she wore this dress for her. At first, she didn't notice. But I only noticed after I saw Ms. Nia in a ready-made dress in the store. The fact that she chose to wear something that matched her dress was to her detriment. So she asked Mrs. Chanel to find her a hair clip, which would have gone well with her dress. It's too little compared to the attention she received, but the saint wants to repay her at least a little. As expected, on Feronia, it's incredibly beautiful. She would never have thought that there would come a moment when she would be delighted with the main character. Feronia was very grateful and said she would be happy to receive her, but she asked her not to apologize or thank her any further. She just wanted to see what Mrs. Estelle would look like in her best dress. The ladies approached from behind. One said she heard a rustling sound and thought a rat had gotten in, but the other two denied it. Today, she finally saw with her own eyes how close they were since they wore matching dresses. Feronia told Estelle that they'd found the perfect matching dresses. Now everyone knows they're best friends. Her Highness, the Dowager Empress. Mother, until now, there had never been a villain more annoying than Erica. Empress, they were bound to encounter this enemy. Sooner or later, Nia suggested going to the banquet hall. That's right, she's like the mother-in-law of a conglomerate family in a drama. The Empress Dowager didn't approve of Estelle, because Estelle, being a commoner, entered and left the imperial castle as if it were her own home. Just like in the original, there's no Calix or Lucian here, but there's nothing to be done. Feronia said that she welcomed the noble Empress Mother as a member of Marquis Lilac's family. Saint Estelle greets the noble Empress Mother. She said that among those present there was a man who could not congratulate the Crown Prince, the hope of the Empire. If everything is as in the original, the Empress said that even if she were a saint, she still dresses too casually. She said the saint was currently insulting the Emperor's family. Everything would be fine. Today she wouldn't be able to say a word to Estelle. She also added that she found it very unpleasant to look at her. She had heard that Marquis Lilac was having difficulties, but this was too much. By wearing a dress to a banquet that a proper lady would not wear and to a tea party, she insults the imperial family. Feronia didn't understand why, completely forgetting her reputation, she was consorting with commoners. Estelle was fine, so she decided to pick on her standing next to her. Feronia's rudeness towards others comes back like a boomerang. The saint turned to the Empress and said that her words were too harsh no matter how noble she was, and she doesn't think it's right to judge clothes that were carefully chosen that way. Something went wrong. The saint said the empress should admit her mistake and apologize. Estelle said that if she didn't apologize, she would remain upset. Estelle always showed everyone her humble, easygoing side. And people forgot one important fact: she knew her own strength. A noble creature who can use her almighty power, and a church with numerous priests and people following her. Making Estelle suffer is like making them all feel bad. She can even bring the empress to heel. The empress said that after listening to the saint, she realized that she might have been tactless. And if Feronia feels insulted, she's sorry. The laurels of the protagonist's friend. The empress said that at their next meeting, she very much hoped that she would wear a dress that was more pleasing to her. The saint apologized and said that she had suffered because of her. Feronia said that it didn't matter at all. Nia was very grateful for Estelle's stand-up for her. Feronia said she was very happy. She thought Lucian and Calix would be jealous of her relationship with him, but now she's not afraid of that because she's her best friend. Feronia asked Lucian if he was thinking about taking Mistress Estelle home. He said he didn't know Madame Estelle wasn't particularly fond of carriage rides. This surprised Feronia. Estelle said not to worry about her because he was told that His Highness the Emperor wanted to see her, so she was going to visit him. Feronia told Lord Cardian that this silence was a bit oppressive. If he wanted to say anything, he needn't hesitate to say so. She'll listen to him. Lucian said that they had been talking with Lady Estelle throughout the banquet. So that's the reason Lord Cardian didn't even know she had a nickname. She didn't understand what he was saying. She's his fiancée, and they've known each other for a long time, but she calls her Nia. And he's the first shining man, Feronia said. So Lucian wasn't jealous that she took Estelle. Feronia asked him again if he was jealous of her, and Estelle Lucian remained silent, and finally said that it was a good thing after all. The main character didn't understand what he was even talking about. It was true that the dress she was wearing matched Madame Estelle's. He was upset because he wondered if she was doing this to impress the crown prince. That's why he couldn't speak frankly. He said Feronia was beautiful today, and when they first met, and always would be. Feronia didn't understand what the hell was going on. While they were talking with Estelle, he was drinking alcohol in the banquet hall the entire time, so she assumed he was drunk when he said this. It was probably best for her not to attach too much importance to his words. So they exchanged their first diaries with Estelle. They stood around her and began to pray. The saint felt like a fallen angel. They wanted to hear that she had repented, but she would never tell them that, because she didn't do anything wrong. So she feels a little sorry, the one who described her entire day. Estelle. Feronia decided to write back. Oh, these old men, they waste their energy. And today she received another wonderful gift from the Lord. Yesterday, he sent 10 dresses and 20 pairs of shoes, and today a set of jewelry. He seems to think she ran out of money after the crown prince's birthday banquet. He says it's a gift from the groom, but she's still happy. Oh, and there's one surprising thing. The Dowager Empress sent her a letter of apology. She said she regretted what had happened that day and wanted to offer her some tea. It doesn't happen that people suddenly change and become kind, and it's not clear what she has in mind. She's a little scared. Nia tossing and turning in bed, Lucian sent another gift. He's completely inept at managing money. He even donated a large amount to the temple every year. He's constantly amazed at how anyone can spend so much. And don't worry, there is no trickery in the letter of apology from the Empress Dowager. Because the day after the banquet, Lucian went to visit the Emperor, and she received the letter. The day after the audience. And what that means is unclear. She can't imagine the face he could have made. And what could a man who never contradicted others say? This means Lucian values her. Her ever-supportive love, Estelle Lucian wrote that he had been appointed responsible for training knights from across the empire. It looks like dating will be difficult for a while due to Lucian Cardian's busy training schedule. No matter how busy he is and doesn't understand why it's so difficult to see each other. Isn't he avoiding her because he's ashamed of what he said when he was drunk? And those words of his. Even if Cardian was drunk, he probably wouldn't have said something he didn't mean, and he wouldn't have sent gifts. So many gifts for a bride he wasn't interested in. She thought it was an expression of affection for her first boyfriend. She taught Lucian to dance and also bought him beautiful clothes. Feronia will become the only friend for the main character and the second protagonist. Feronia has done a great job as a supporting villain. Now, even if Lucian goes crazy, the chances of him killing her are dramatically reduced. Even if he tries, she can escape into Estelle's arms. Feronia had nothing left to fear now. She was shocked by what she had just seen. Annie asked the lady what was wrong. Feronia asked her if she could tell her who she saw outside the window. When she looked out the window, she saw the crown prince there. The maid didn't understand at all why he was there. The father greeted His Highness and asked what urgent business they had here since he had arrived unannounced. Of course, his visit doesn't bother them in any way, nor is it unpleasant. Rather, he's pleased to realize that such a friendship is blossoming between the prince and himself. The prince said that he had come to meet Lady Feronia. He said he wanted to talk to her alone, but Feronia didn't want that. Her father agreed. The main character didn't understand why he'd given her up in the novel Feronia and Calix rarely cross paths. This most often happens when he glares at Feronia, who is teasing Estelle. But now their relationship is far from that. They are very close friends. Calix asked what she had done to become so close to the saint. She simply couldn't ignore those who asked for help, and he asked her if she had begged her to be her friend. But Feronia denied it. The prince said it meant she had found her weakness. Feronia asked why he was turning an innocent into a criminal. She must have been hypnotized by a powerful sorcerer. If it were possible she would have hypnotized him better, then he wouldn't have barged in on her so rudely early in the morning. No matter how hot-tempered the protagonist may be, he can't lay his hands on the heroine's best friend. At that very moment, she'll break off relations with him. Even though the saint smiles and laughs at everyone, she doesn't let anyone get close to her. The prince did not understand what she had done to her that she was giving such a smile only to her. That's why the repentant protagonist won't find an answer. Feronia asked if he truly understood. Nia said she was probably her type. The prince asked again. Feronia said Estelle liked honest and kind people. Her character is much better than it seems. Calix asked if she wanted to say if that was what had hooked her. The girl said that was the reason her beauty was too precious. In short, the prince wouldn't understand. Calix didn't understand what this meant. Feronia had said that, frankly, his character was extremely unpleasant. She asked again if he could recognize the charm of such a beautiful lady. The prince asked if she liked his character. The heir didn't understand what was wrong with him. For her, ignoring others' words was routine. What he says is simply self-boasting or harsh remarks. Previously, she was wary of associating with the imperial family and nobility. But now he's clinging to an aristocrat, seeming a bit sarcastic. She's finally realized the truth. Only a crazy woman would like a man like that. Feronia said she'd answered all his questions. She was sorry, but she'd have to leave first because she was busy today. Calix said he found her words amusing. He found them unpleasant, but he could discern a hint of meaning in them. Perhaps he'd been acting carelessly until now. Feronia said it was good that he'd finally realized it, so he'd let her help him improve. Feronia didn't understand what he wanted to improve. She's not his center ace. Although she didn't want to interfere in their relationship, but maybe it would be better to make Calix normal. And Estelle will suffer less from emotional distress. Feronia asked if she could refuse if he begged so much. The prince asked again when he had begged. Nia said she would do everything in her power to help change His Highness the Crown Prince's swinish nature. But before they begin, he must promise her something even if he says something harsh or does something rude during class. This is all just part of the correction. She shouldn't make any accusations or harbor any personal feelings about it. 2. He must faithfully follow instructions without questioning them. And he, the prince, doesn't understand this. But his worldview is very different. She's not sure he'll be able to convince her every time, because he simply sets such conditions in advance. First of all, there are countless aspects of his personality that cause problems. The first thing he needs to fix is that he's too outspoken when he talks to others. The man said she was saying strange things because he was the crown prince of this empire and everyone except her parents. They are her subordinates, and she says he should pay attention to them. Regardless, her harsh words even hurt her mistress. The prince asked if he had said anything harsh to the saint. It was common for him to tell her she was clumsy and looked like a commoner. Calix said she remained as clumsy as a commoner, and he said it was simply the truth. Feronia said that meant he wouldn't be offended at all if she said he had a nasty character. It's true, after all, Calix never considered the feelings of others. From birth until now, those around him have indulged him. The prince asked what he should say in such a situation. Nia said simply, say nothing and sit silently. Whether he's the crown prince or not, he shouldn't treat others so carelessly. The same goes for the way he grabbed Estelle's wrist at her betrothal ceremony. The prince was asking if women were attracted to wild men. Feronia said it wasn't savage, it was just merciless. And he also had to show proper manners. He had to compliment. The prince asked her if she knew that saying such words would diminish her dignity. Estelle replied that the prince was quite handsome. Feronia asked if this diminished her dignity. That's the power of kind words. Even though they're just words, they make people feel good. Sometimes that's worth far more than 1,000 gold coins. So don't be shy about saying them. And then Feronia wondered if she was making things worse for Lucian. She's helping their love after all. The prince asked why she suddenly fell silent after her tense speech. Nia said that, however, that was all she could do. If he was careful with what she told him, he wouldn't be reproached for his character. Feronia wished her a safe journey home. The prince asked if that was all. The lady said it was. This can hardly be achieved through character correction. Correction means testing and observation until behavior changes. The lady asked if he wanted to meet again. The prince confirmed this. Nia said she was very busy and didn't think she could devote more time to them. The prince had heard that she hadn't been attending banquets much lately. So what was keeping her so busy? Being a lady isn't just about moving in high society circles, so Feronia hopes she understands. The second protagonist who promised to come never shows up. Only the stupid protagonist comes and goes. If he doesn't come, she'll find him herself. Feronia was too hot today. He looked so different from when he was wearing a suit. Lord Cardian wiped the sweat from his forehead. Lord Cardian adjusted his bangs. They looked like fans who had come to gawk at idols. Feronia was surprised that it was possible to use binoculars and decided that she would bring them tomorrow too. The girl asked in surprise if he had a fiancé. The other one wondered about it too. His wife, a lady from the family of the Marquis of Lilac, was trying to remember her name. Nia was shocked that commoners knew her name. And when she heard it, she realized it wasn't true. Rumor had it. Their family was quite poor, and all they had left was their title. And yet she is a noble lady and therefore beautiful. The other agreed that she was beautiful. However, her character is incredibly terrible. One heard that commoners like them get slapped just for being near her. She says they smell bad. Feronia did exactly that in the past, but now she's not doing it. They couldn't understand why the Lord was engaged to her. It was a deal forced upon them by the Emperor. It would be ridiculously stupid if he intervened and started making excuses. He needs to cool down, because Feronia is her now. All the bad stuff is in the past. She's a respectable citizen now. If she'd said that, it would have simply scared them. The prince asked why she ignored their insults. Feronia was shocked when she saw him believing he was a snuff box. Under the pretext of correction, she said all sorts of rude things to him. But she said nothing to these commoners, and he doesn't know what to make of it. Feronia said she didn't understand why His Highness the Prince was here. He said he came to watch the training session in his parents' stead. Then he noticed a familiar face, and Calix thought Lady Feronia was very busy. Nia said she'd told him a few hours ago, but he seemed to have forgotten. Feronia said that you can't talk to people in a tone that ignores their feelings. The lady said that she had done everything she wanted and was therefore leaving. The prince said she was saying she was leaving after looking at Cardian excitedly some time ago. Or maybe she's just avoiding him. Nia said she couldn't know what rumors would spread after a casual conversation with the prince. Now it was clear why Lucian was looking at them like that. She thought he was surprised to see her here. It would be awkward to say they hadn't seen each other for a long time. The prince said that looking at him, they had nothing to worry about. He doesn't seem to be interested in the fact that she's talking to another man. Feronia said that he was not so childish as to misunderstand such a scene, and she hopes that he will move away so that she can pass. The sun is so hot that she can no longer stay here. Should she look back? And she wonders very much if Lucian is looking at her now. She thought that the Lord should not be so indifferent to her. Feronia said it smelled like potatoes. Annie said to be patient because nothing soothes overheated skin like a potato mask. After all, it was unreasonable to sit in such heat wearing only a hat. It wasn't just the heat. Feronia said this was the story of a lady she knew. Her fiancé walked in on her talking to another man, but he didn't care at all. She says he completely ignored them and asked what it meant. Annie said there was only one conclusion to be drawn. He showed no interest in his fiancée. Aristocratic engagements are often held between families. What special feelings can this relationship hold? When it comes to political strategy, Feronia asked again if it should be like this. She already knew about it and doesn't understand where this depression is coming from. Annie finished lying down for a while. Lucian leaped toward Feronia and told her not to approach her fiancé. The prince asked if he objected. After a private conversation with the lady, they get along well. In the future, of course, he might object to their pleasant encounters. Lucian told her again not to approach her. When she woke up, she realized it had all been a dream. She felt like she'd fallen asleep completely covered in potatoes. And Annie must have cleaned them up. Even if their marriage is arranged, she will still be his fiancé? That's too much, so it's disrespectful to treat your fiancé. And this dream is also terrible. Although they are an extremely poor family of which only a name remains. She saw Lucian standing next to her, asking if she was okay. Feronia said she wasn't at all and asked why he was there at this hour. The boy said he wanted to ask the servant a favor. Nia asked what it was. She wanted to convey this to her. It said it was from her friend Lucian, and he was inviting her to go out the back door of the mansion. The lady asked if he had come here to see her. If so, he could have simply entered through the front door. Her father would have gladly opened the doors for her, so he tried to send her a message. When he meets the Marquis, he feels he must listen to the love story he left unfinished. If that happened, he wouldn't be able to see her tomorrow morning. Feronia wasn't upset with him. He needed to act more boldly, so that's it. Now Feronia understood why he'd behaved that way, and she wondered why he'd come to her. Lucian asked if it was possible she was offended by his behavior that day. He was sorry he had been rude to her. He had been drunk. That was a long time ago and not true. And Feronia wasn't upset about that at all. She was asking if he meant it. The guy said he was sincere when he said he was jealous of Mistress Estelle, and when he said the lady looked cute, Feronia asked if he'd ignored her after that. The Lord didn't understand what she was talking about. The lady was referring to the training plan. He pretended not to notice her even when he saw her with the prince. As someone who showed no interest in her, Lucian said he felt uneasy when he suddenly saw her. He would never ignore her. Feronia asked if it was true. Lucian confirmed it. So it bothered him that she was with the crown prince, at least a little. Lucian said a little wasn't the right word. The Lord was extremely worried. After all, she was his fiancée. They took hands and Feronia said she would forgive them. Both for today and for what happened back then, Lucian asked her when she had become friends with His Highness. Feronia said he pretended to know her. He doesn't know her. The prince has no friends and was apparently bored. Lucian noted that it was already late at night and he should leave. But he wanted to ask her permission to do one thing before he went. Feronia was surprised to hear the word permission. Lucian asked if he could call her by her nickname just once. The man took her hand to kiss it and wished her good night, calling her Nia. Thoughts about this kept Feronia awake. She even felt a bit embarrassed about it. When the soul is unsettled, it is better to get down to business. She came to Mistress Estelle and she was very glad to see her. Feronia noticed the dark circles under her eyes and asked if she'd been up all night again. Estelle confirmed it with a smile. The saint said that she wanted to study medicine so that she could heal people with her own hands and not by the power of the saint. Feronia couldn't understand how anyone could be so sweet and modest. She was with her today, so they do everything quietly. And there's no need to overexert yourself, Estelle agreed. As soon as she changed, one of the workers was already calling her. The main character herself no longer knew who had pulled her tongue. Nia couldn't understand how Estelle, such a fragile girl, could have so much stamina. The man said he had a question. Is this where the commoner's strength lies? Feronia was shocked to see the prince standing beside her. She had no idea where the prince had come from. Calix had said he had business there. And he's been here for a long time, and he and the saint are the only ones who haven't noticed. And he doesn't know if they didn't see him because they were focused on work or if they were just pretending. The prince was shocked by the way she smiled at her patients. The saint told His Highness she was embarrassed because she only just found out he'd arrived. But the prince said it was okay, and he entered deliberately quietly so as not to distract her. If only he had answered as usual. Calix said that he didn't expect a commoner to show any politeness, so there was nothing to worry about. That would have been true, but her lessons worked. They were worth it, and the saint asked him why he was here. The prince said he was here in his father's stead. They save the lives of people who can't get treatment due to lack of money, and he came to see for himself how well she'd organized everything. She's simply assisted by wonderful volunteers and priests. Calix said they shouldn't be given credit. It was she who built the medical center in the slums. He's trying to bring order to the slums by allocating funds from the imperial budget. It's impossible to change everything the first time. But if you make changes gradually, things will get much better. That's why he came to the saint. He wanted to see the village for himself and hear what help was needed. He asked if she could give him any advice, an invitation to a date that suits Estelle's tastes. This makes him more like the main character. Estelle asked Mistress Nia if she would like to go with them. Feronia made it clear with her whole demeanor that she did not. The next day, although she said she wouldn't go with them, she couldn't miss such a big event. No matter why Calix came to the slums, he will definitely want to declare with his outfit that he is the crown prince. She found it Feronia was shocked by Calix's appearance. She really wondered what the devil was thinking when he picked out his clothes. Its appearance is 5 million years removed from the dreary slums. When Estelle arrived, he said that he had followed her advice and taken commoners' clothes from the priests. It was a little extravagant, but appealing. The prince asked where they would begin. First, Estelle would have liked to show him the village. Feronia thought it was great that they went. The prince said that he knew the situation here was dire, but he would never have thought that it was this bad. It's not just the crumbling buildings. Estelle said the crime and disease are far worse. Violence and theft occur dozens of times a day. The prince needs to gather workers immediately and carry out a major overhaul of this place. If the allocated budget is not enough, she will use her personal fortune to improve the place. Men approached them and said they saw a wonderful atmosphere. Feronia didn't understand what kind of outdated plot twist this was. He asked the prince who he was because just looking at him smelled of money. The man asked if he had come to see how the beetles lived. To do so, he had to pay an entrance fee. The prince said he hated dealing with cockroaches. Feronia didn't understand why the protagonist was saying this, and she felt ashamed. It's all because the main character, Calix, has incredible talent in martial arts. He's just such a bully. The man called the prince a bastard and said he couldn't understand the hints because he never set foot outside the house, but there was no one here to help him. Calix said not to be afraid and to wait 3 seconds. By the time he opened his eyes, it would all be over. It was Yuba-Khan and Zanbi. She added that they hadn't seen each other for a long time and asked them how they were doing. The guys were shocked that this was truly holy and noted that they really hadn't seen each other for a long time. The guy said that she spent all her time in the flower house and he asked why she came here. Estelle said that her friend wanted to see the village and she showed him everything here. She also asked them if they wanted to beat him. Now they told the saint that they would truly live rightly and cried. Estelle said that the 3 of them made a promise to her when they left the flower house that they would not behave badly anymore. They said they just wanted to scare away the evil aristocrat they always come to stare at them. The saint said she believed them. She told them to take the candy because they liked sweets. They were delighted to say that it would be a family heirloom and were thrilled that she hadn't forgotten about it. The prince was surprised that she even knew such people. Estelle had said she shouldn't call them that. They live here. He's the one who should be taking care of them, the girl said. He said he wanted to tidy up the place. She wants to make it as pure as the capital. The prince confirmed this. The saint said that before that, she wanted him to know something. For him, such a place may be dirty and squalid, but for many, it is the home where they are born. Grow up, grow old, and die. The easiest thing would be to demolish the old houses and build new ones. But they all want something different. A piece of bread that can be eaten at any time and a doctor who will cure them of their illness. Estelle said they would be grateful if he took that into account. Calix said he didn't mind. In this scene, the main character completely gives his heart to the main character. Feronia no longer wants to interfere in their relationship and does not understand why he is here again. The girl asked His Highness why he had arrived so early in the morning without warning. The prince said to receive her first. The man said her lessons had worked. Feronia was pleased with the outcome and said she would accept his gratitude. They had already finished, and Feronia thought it was time for him to leave. The prince said he had a question for the lady. Feronia asked with displeasure which one. The prince asked how to make Estelle smile. The girl said she always smiled. He agreed, but that smile of hers was simply formal. And he talks about a simpler, pure smile, the smile she shows only to herself. Feronia told His Highness that she was sure she had said so before, but she did not want to deal with him anymore. And the lady has nothing more to say to His Highness. If he wants, he can pounce on her right now. But if he laid a finger on her, she'd tell Estelle everything. The prince said he'd give her whatever he wanted if he helped her. What about the Puepelan gold mines? Feronia was itching to accept them with gratitude. Regardless of her family's financial situation, they were not so desperate as to accept such gifts. The guy said he'd figure out how to get her to meet the actor Pui. He'd heard he was incredibly popular among aristocratic women. A good offer, but Feronia knows a more attractive, handsome, radiant man. The girl was grateful for the offer, but said it wasn't worth it. The prince asked if she had seen Cardian as a child. Calix said he'd found a portrait of him as a child. Feronia couldn't understand how he'd gotten it. The prince said he didn't think he was obligated to answer her question and asked her to think about her answer again. And he asked if she would accept his sincerity and help him. Feronia said that if that was the case, he wanted to excite her. That was incredible wisdom on his part. She was an incorrigible Cardian fan. Feronia asked again if he was saying he wanted to see Estelle's real smile. He confirmed it. Nia said it wasn't difficult. All he needed to do was get closer to her. The prince didn't understand how. Working hard as a volunteer at the flower house like she does is not suitable for Calyx. She said that Estelle liked to communicate through letters. For example, they exchanged diaries. The prince asked if she was telling him what he should write in this diary. Nia said, "God forbid. This is just between them girls." Then he should write Estelle a letter. So be it, she'll give it to her. She thought that nothing bad would happen if she gave the letter to her. The next day, Feronia asked again if it was easy to deliver the letter to Estelle. He said he wanted her to read it before sending it. Feronia didn't understand why she needed this. Calyx said it was the first time he'd written a letter to anyone, so I'm not entirely sure I did everything right. I'm such a noob when it comes to love. When she read it, she was in complete shock. Calyx asked if it was strange. Nia said she knew it was strange. Calyx asked if the writing style was too difficult for commoners to understand. He corrected words and sentences several times because he was afraid she might not understand. Or maybe he used too expensive stationery and she would be embarrassed. Feronia said that wasn't the problem. From the very beginning to the end of the letter, he kept talking about how wonderful he was. Calyx said he wrote about himself in his first letter, so it would be nice to introduce himself. Nia said it would be better to write something casual in that case. How old was he when he was called a genius? How many teachers praised his talents? Or how many times they remarked on how harmonious his face was and its perfect symmetry? Nia asked if anyone was interested. The girl said that after reading her letter, only one feeling arose. His Highness the Prince is a loser. From a young age, he was taught to express himself only in this way, mad, noble, and strong. So, in fact, even though he listened to her reprimand, he does not understand what he did wrong. Maybe that's why he can't easily get close to Estelle. He knows she doesn't want to lend him her power. And Calyx wants to ask her for a favor. He asks her to help him write a letter. This arrogant prince. If he looks at her with that expression, she won't be able to refuse him. He followed her advice, but he still wasn't sure. He just didn't understand what was so interesting about trivial conversations. Feronia said that he would know everything when he received Estelle's answer. In the flower house, she was in shock. Only a few days had passed, but everything had changed so much. Even the light had become brighter. Estelle said it was all thanks to His Highness the Crown Prince. He said he would continue to support the flower house in the future and would build a new school in the village. Estelle should thank His Highness, but due to her busy schedule, she never manages to spare a minute. Feronia handed the letter to the Saint. Estelle didn't understand what it was. Feronia said it was from the Crown Prince. He said that Estelle might feel inconvenienced if he sent a servant to her, so he asked her to give it to her. Estelle was grateful to her for delivering the letter to her. With that, Feronia's work was complete. The saint asked the lady if she could ask her to deliver the letter she would write in response. Nia was shocked. The girl was very grateful to her friend for her help. She had only planned to deliver one letter. She relayed Estelle's reply to Her Highness. The prince was simply shocked. Nia was about to leave, but the prince stopped her. Calyx asked Feronia if she could deliver another letter to the saint. Nia realized it seemed she was destined to become their postman. Although she's pleased to see Estelle's happy face, if Lucian finds out he might get angry and crush her like a cockroach. She hadn't originally intended to help Calyx, but that look on his face was irresistible. Estelle asked me to deliver a letter, and she would be very grateful. But she can't refuse now, so there's nothing she can do. She decided that she would just be as nice to Lucian as she could, so that when he learns the truth, he'll hate her at least a little less. Feronia greeted Lord Cardian, and it was the first time she had invited him to dinner, so she approached it with all seriousness. Lucian said it was truly magnificent, more sumptuous than the victory dinner His Highness the Emperor had invited her to. To have a lunch like this, she will have to eat only bread for the next 2 weeks, but she doesn't regret it. A person doesn't forget about kindness to the one who feeds him. This means that later, even if he realizes she did something wrong. Lucian said it was delicious. Feronia was glad he enjoyed the food and ate as much as he could. Cardian told Lady Feronia that perhaps she had done something wrong. Nia, unsure what to say, cleared her throat. The guy asked if she was okay. Feronia didn't understand why he was asking. The Lord said that she was kind to him every time they met and even gave him a gift a couple of days ago. And today she was treating him to such a wonderful dinner, so he thought something was wrong. Nia asked him what he would do if that were the case. The lady thought he would be angry, but Lucian said no way. He would never be angry with her. After all, the lady is his fiancée. Feronia asked if she would eat all the sweets Lord Cardian had saved for himself. He said he wouldn't be angry, even in that case. Nia asked what if she sold his sword without permission, but he still said he didn't care. Nia asked what if she noticed money in the bank in his name and then ran away. He still denied it. Feronia was shocked. The girl extended her finger. Lucian asked if she had hurt her finger. Feronia told them to make a promise by joining their little fingers. The girl asked if this was his first time making a promise. He was embarrassed, but it was true. It was a very shy answer. She couldn't believe it. Even her ears turned red. She didn't understand how someone could be so awkward and cute. He interlocks his fingers, sealing the seal with his finger, and completes the promise Lucian has promised. He said that even if the lady did something wrong, she would never get angry. Lucian's words made her feel calmer. Feronia came to the prince and told him he had a letter from Estelle Calix, said the answer would be ready right here at this time in 3 days. Feronia asked, how about exchanging letters through a trusted servant instead of through her? The prince asked if she was talking about handing over their letters to strangers. He would never do such a thing. Nia said her hands were also foreign. He said it was different because she was her best friend, and his. Feronia asked what he meant. The prince said that at least she was closer than some servant. They made a deal so that everyone would get what they wanted. So she just had to deliver the letters as before. Feronia said she was leaving, but he asked her to wait a little because she had a gift. Feronia didn't understand what it was. The prince said that this was what he had promised. He would arrive at her mansion today. Feronia didn't understand what he meant. The original was badly damaged and too small, so the portrait was recreated by a court artist. An artist with better skills restored the painting on a better canvas, and therefore its value as a work of art became even greater. The prince's messenger hoped she would be satisfied. That was it, he would take his leave. Annie said he looked just like an angel. On her, Feronia didn't understand what she was talking about because he was more beautiful than an angel. She did not understand at all how His Highness the Prince managed to obtain such a portrait. Cardian grew up in an unnamed village until he met a saint, so there are no records of his childhood. Power can do the impossible. When Lucian was little, he was so cautious he wouldn't even look at people normally. But how did the artist manage to make him smile so brightly? A few days later, the father greeted the saint and hoped she was doing well. The prayer she delivered at an event a few days ago was truly touching. It was as if they heard the voice of a goddess. Feronia immediately kicked her father out. The saint said that whenever she arrived, the Marquis always greeted her warmly. Nia said that whenever Dad sees a popular person, he tries to befriend him. She doesn't know what to do with him. There's no one among the nobles who truly loves her so much. That's why she has so much fun with him. Annie served them tea. Feronia decided to first deliver a letter from His Highness the Crown Prince. As before, Estelle is grateful to Lady Nia. Feronia said she does what she enjoys. If you think of it as helping a friend, there is nothing difficult about it. But of course, it was also a bit difficult to carry out the prince's orders. No problem. She in turn also received compensation from the prince. The saint asked again if she was talking about compensation. Feronia confirmed it. Feronia asked if this was beauty. The saint said that it truly was. She thought that the portrait was lost since it was painted a long time ago. His Highness was able to find it. Feronia asked if Estelle knew about this. The saint said that, of course, she remembered it as if it were yesterday. On that day, Lucian became the youngest member of the Knight's Order. This portrait was painted in memory of this. Now Feronia understood what had happened back then. The novella described this episode briefly. Lucian takes the entrance exams to become an imperial knight at the age of just 12. Many were unhappy because at that age, this was unusual. Mistrust, disdain, ridicule, abuse. Despite many worries, Lucian passed the entrance exam with confidence. Of course, even given his incredible talent, it wasn't easy to pass the knighthood exam at such a young age. He had only one reason: he wanted to protect Estelle. The passage he'd thrown out in passing had touched her deeply. She shed so many tears supporting Lucian's true love for Estelle, but somehow it was strange. The feeling she'd felt back then was completely gone. Nia couldn't understand why. Estelle said she couldn't imagine how nervous Lucian was when he suddenly had to pose for a portrait. The artist asked him to smile, but he still kept a stern expression on his face. So Estelle stood behind the artist and made funny faces. Only then did he laugh because it was funny. Feronia now realized that Estelle was the one who had prompted Lucian's radiant smile. Her cheeks were as pink as a peach, and her soft gaze glowed with tenderness. The girl didn't understand why her heart was so heavy. The saint didn't understand what was wrong with Feronia. Because Estelle thought she looked bad, it was all just for Estelle. Her father burst into the room. Nia said she'd already told him that entering a lady's room without permission was very impolite. Father said there was no time for permission now. He didn't understand why the emperor needed her. Feronia herself didn't understand why this had happened. She wanted to try to change quickly. The servant greeted them and said that since His Highness was not feeling well, he told them not to worry about him receiving a guest in the bedroom. His Highness also summoned Lady Feronia Lilac. The saint will remain here. Feronia told her not to worry because she'd be back soon. The girl didn't understand why he needed her. The girl said she greeted His Highness the Great Emperor of the Empire. She was the daughter of Marquis Lilac. The man remarked that this was their first meeting. She wondered if this was how a middle-aged man with an adult son should look. First, he asked her to accept his apology. He was sorry he couldn't attend her engagement. Feronia said he couldn't come due to illness, and she understood. The emperor was grateful for these words. The emperor said he had summoned her because he wanted to know something. He had been informed that she and the crown prince had been meeting frequently lately in a secret, secluded location. And he asked if it was true. Feronia said that everything was not at all as His Majesty thought. The emperor asked again if she wanted to say that there was another reason why a young man and woman meet alone in a place where no one would see. Nia didn't even know what to say. The prince entered the room and apologized for entering without permission. He came because he considered it urgent. He asked his father if he had called Feronia because of him. Father confirmed this and said that since he had already come this far, he wanted to hear answers about his relationship with Feronia. The emperor asked if they were actually dating. They denied everything and said absolutely not. The ruler couldn't understand what the man and woman were doing in that secluded place. The prince said he'd simply asked her to deliver a letter to Estelle. Estelle entered the room. She apologized profusely for her rudeness. She announced that she was Estelle, a saint. The girl claimed that Lady Nia had delivered the letters for both of them. The emperor was shocked and asked Feronia if it was true. Calix told his father that a special feeling had developed between him and Estelle. They loved each other. Feronia couldn't understand who had even pulled his tongue. The emperor asked Estelle if she thought the same. The saint agreed. The emperor said there would be complications. Calix asked if it was because she was a commoner or because Estelle was a saint. The prince shouted that her father could not separate her from Estelle for any reason. The father sighed and said that if anyone were to cause a breakup, it wouldn't be Estelle but his foolish son. The problem lay elsewhere. The prince didn't understand what the problem could be. A few days ago, a notice arrived from the Kingdom of Cibron for Estelle, granting her permission to visit the National Medical Center. The prince didn't understand what he was saying. He was asking if foreigners were prohibited from visiting the medical center in the Kingdom of Cibron. Thanks to Estelle's letter of recommendation and medical expertise, she received exceptional permission. Once she arrives there, the saint must remain there for at least 5 years. If you think about it, she wasn't just reading books, she was preparing for college. The prince asked Estelle if this was true. She confirmed it. Calix didn't understand why she hadn't said anything. Estelle apologized. She hadn't wanted to worry either him or Feronia. The prince didn't understand how this could bother him. After all, it had to do with her. The emperor told his son that he had already told him to correct his character. Estelle probably hadn't intended to tell them anything because a few days ago, she came to him and said she'd changed her mind about going. She was very upset giving up what she so desperately wanted, but he didn't even think that it was because of his stupid son. Feronia asked if she really wanted to refuse. She would never again have the opportunity to study the medicine of the Kingdom of Cibron, which she had dreamed of. Estelle confirmed this. The journey to the Kingdom of Cibron takes over a month, so it's not a distance worth traveling back and forth frequently. That's why Estelle made this choice, but it's unclear whether the prince agrees with it. Calix repeated what he had already told her several times, not to limit herself. He told her to do whatever she wanted. He told her not to worry about the people important to her, because he would take care of them. By the time she returned to hospital, and a school would already be built for the poor, and he will also write to her every day so she can go without regrets. Estelle said she would do just that. She would learn the art of medicine so well that she would be able to heal every sick person in the empire. Estelle asked Calix to wait for her. The prince said he would wait as long as it took. The emperor asked if this meant she would go to the National Medical Center. He said he had done something senseless and had almost accused an innocent person. The emperor apologized. Feronia said he'd made perfectly logical conclusions, and she understood he'd said she was quite noble. And the rumors are completely opposite. And according to rumors, Feronia is an arrogant and hot-tempered noblewoman. He probably means something like that. Now she understands Lucian. The conversation was over. The emperor said that if he and Calix had a serious relationship, Lucian should have been the first to know. And he thought he needed to hear it directly from his bride's lips. So that's what he said. She couldn't understand how he could do such a thing. Feronia felt very uncomfortable sitting in silence, and she wanted to hear at least something. Lucian apologized, and Feronia didn't understand why. He said that even if the emperor had ordered it, he shouldn't have hidden and eavesdropped on their conversation. Because by doing so, he deceived her, and it was his fault Nia said everything was fine. And she knows that the ruler's orders are absolute for a night, and he must follow them even if he doesn't want to. Lucian is probably angry that she delivered His Highness's letters without his knowledge, but she couldn't refuse Estelle's help. After all, she seemed genuinely happy when exchanging letters with His Highness the Crown Prince. Feronia doesn't understand why he doesn't answer her. By this, she means for him to firmly abandon her, and he didn't suffer from unrequited love. Feronia was frightened and hoped he wouldn't do anything to her. He promised her he said he would forgive her no matter what wrong she had done. Lucian didn't know she still cared about it. Lucian said he had indeed admired the saint, but only in the past. He had already expressed his feelings to her several times, but he hadn't thought she would ignore him completely. Feronia didn't understand why he was angry now. If he no longer felt anything for Estelle, there was no reason to be angry with her. It's not like that, even if it was just an exchange of letters, just imagining that he was with another man in an unknown place. He feels uneasy. Lucian feels ill, and he asks Nia if she still doesn't understand this. Feronia asked what this meant. Lucian said that the one he held in his heart was she, Feronia. Annie said Lord Cardian sent her gifts today, too. There was a Louis Vuitton bag and a Chanel dress. Father said that as expected, Cardian was determined sending gifts every day. Truly, the best groom in the empire. Lord Cardian is something special. He's been spending so much on her lately. The Marquis couldn't believe that he was sending gifts every day, and it seemed that their mansion would soon burst from such an amount. Feronia told her father not to worry because she would send everything back to Lord Cardian. The father asked if this was necessary because these were gifts symbolizing his affection for his bride. And he told her to be polite. Nia said that every gift is different. He was overdoing it. Father asked about the diamond button, but Nia told him to put it back. Father wanted to say something, but Feronia ordered Annie to close the door. Annie asked if she really wanted to return the gifts. In the past, she accepted every gift Mr. Cardian gave her. Now things are completely different. These were gifts from a man who had confessed his attraction to her. Annie asked if he had confessed to her. Feronia asked in horror how she knew and began to believe she had been spying on her just like the Emperor. Annie said she changed significantly after meeting His Majesty. From that day on, she always remembers Cardian's name. Her shoulders shook and her face turned red as a tomato. Just like now. It wasn't all that surprising, really. She knew Mr. Cardian would confess to her sooner or later. Anyone who saw them together would have noticed. Mr. Cardian's mood changed completely only in her presence. This surprised Feronia. Mr. Cardian is always so polite that it's difficult to deal with him. Whenever he's around her, he smiles like a child. So it's impossible not to notice his feelings. It's obvious that Mr. Cardian considers her special. Feronia's heart was pounding, just as it had on the day of her confession. She blushed. Nia said that since they hadn't seen each other, she had begun to look terrible. The servant said that was how it was supposed to be. Every day he looked for a gift that Lady Feronia would like and reported it to Lord Lucian. She noticed he'd been working so hard, making the last few days harder than they'd been on the battlefield. And so he dared to ask her to stop Master Lucian. If this continued, he would faint from exhaustion. Feronia said not to worry because she was here specifically to stop his rampage. It was hard for her to imagine how much trouble Lucian had caused him. When she entered the room, she saw Lucian there looking at the paintings, a handsome man standing against a backdrop of beautiful paintings. Cardian turned his back on her and asked her why she had come. Nia said she had come because she wanted to talk, but she became curious about where these paintings came from. She couldn't believe they were the original Mona Rio. Lucian confirmed it. Feronia said it was exactly the same as the original. Lucian was glad she liked it. It was one of the pieces he'd planned to send. The girl asked him if he was planning to send her all the paintings currently in the room. Lucian had intended to do just that. Mona Rio alone stands alone. Feronia told the Lord she couldn't accept such a gift. She said that if they hung these paintings in their old mansion, the walls would collapse. Then they could hire an architect. His skills are so good, he'll make their mansion as strong as new. Nia said. That wasn't the problem. She's heartbroken by such gifts, so she asks to take back all the gifts she sent. And she's here to say it, Lucian said she told him once, that there is not a single lady who would not like it if she received a confession from him. If she was sincere, then at the very least she shouldn't have been offended by his feelings. Nia never imagined he'd ask about it. Feronia said she wasn't upset. Lucian asked if she could accept his gifts if that was the case. These gifts have nothing to do with his confession. He simply wants to give them to her. He wants to show her all the most beautiful things in the world. Suddenly they announced that the saint had arrived. Feronia didn't understand what she was doing. Lucian asked if he could invite Lady Estelle. Estelle said she didn't know Miss Nia would be here. She asked if they wanted to spend time together. Feronia said she came because she needed to tell Lord Cardian something and asked what she was. The saint thought that she should not learn about the etiquette and culture of the country she was going to, so she came to discuss it with Lucian. The Lord had worked with a mercenary from Outrun, so he was familiar with their culture. But she didn't know that the two of them had already reached an agreement. So Estelle says she'd better leave, but Feronia tells her to wait. Lucian said that the people of the kingdom of Sebron were extremely reluctant to receive help from others. They're so sentimental that they can get offended and feel pitied. That's why you shouldn't rush to help them. The saint asked what if Grandma passed by, sweating profusely and pushing a heavy cart. Lucian said she could handle it herself. Estelle asked what she should do if she walked down the street and saw someone hurt there. Lucian said that there were medical centers everywhere he could find them on his own. Under no circumstances should he help anyone unless he asks for it himself. Lucian said that if they did this, he would hear only senseless curses. The saint said she would mean it. Miss Estelle once said that people have a hard time asking for help. Nia said she said that because she was going through a tough time. But that's not what she meant at all. It was just a casual, meaningless conversation, and for some reason, Nia's heart ached. When such an opportunity presented itself and she should be happy, she really didn't mean it that way. The saint was grateful because thanks to her explanation, she thought she would make fewer mistakes in the kingdom of Serbon. Nia said that she would also leave and hoped that he would listen to what she had asked earlier. The lady beckoned Estelle to join her, but Lucian's expression was one of sadness. The girl mustn't give in to Lucian's puppy dog eyes. Feronia asked Estelle if her preparation for studying abroad was going well. However, she is concerned that the priests are still against it. Not long ago, they came to the flower house. Feronia was shocked that they'd made it all the way to the flower house. She asked how long they planned to hold her back under the pretext of her being a saint. They say the saint can't leave without the priests. The saint said she'd have to somehow convince them before leaving. If she can't do it herself, the saint can resort to a last resort, so she needn't worry. Feronia asked what the remedy was. The saint said the priests would agree if Lucian told them to. The lady asked if they were afraid of the Lord. Estelle said they had a conflict in the past and she was almost kicked out of the temple. She made a mistake at an important event. She begged for another chance, and then Lucian stood between her and the priests. She never saw Lucian's face, but she'll never forget the pale faces of the priests. It felt like they'd encountered a wolf in the forest. From then on, the priests stopped scolding her. Whenever she found herself in a difficult situation, she often turned to Lucian for help. She and Lucian are like brother and sister. It's not a simple feeling. Lucian's affection for her is more desperate than Estelle realizes, enough to make the reader's heart break even more. The man who loved Estelle so deeply now loves her. It's unbelievable, the servant said he'd take everything back and told me to let you know if I needed it again. Father asked if it really had to be like this. He considered it cruel and called Feronia strict. Annie said she was sorry because it suited her so well. What could she do? It was all her faulty pride. A week later, on the day Estelle was leaving for her studies abroad, Nia said she was already leaving. Lucian told Feronia that they hadn't seen each other for a long time. Feronia agreed and they went. It was awkward to drive in complete silence. Nia said she heard a story from Estelle yesterday. It is said that the priests who had stubbornly opposed her studying abroad even congratulated her. Lucian said it was good. Nia said she said they changed their minds after Lucian visited the priests. And she asked how he managed to change their minds. Lucian said he simply looked them in the eyes. Just a little. She wondered if they found his beautiful ruby eyes so creepy. If looks could kill, then his looks could kill dozens of times over. Just for Estelle, they had already arrived. Lucian was telling the lady to be careful. They got out, and as they started walking, they saw Estelle and the prince. Feronia asked if they were late. Estelle said absolutely not and was grateful they had come so far. Nia said he managed to get permission to enter a country that was practically closed to foreigners. Calix reported that she was speaking with the crown prince of the empire and asked who would dare to block his path. Feronia wished Estelle a pleasant and safe journey. The saint was very grateful and accepted the bouquet. Lucian wished her a safe journey. They looked at each other sweetly, and Feronia grabbed Lucian's hand. And then she thought about what she was doing. She justified it by saying that her hands were a little cold. On such a hot day, no matter how busy Estelle is, she will definitely come to their wedding. So he hopes to hear good news from them as soon as possible. The prince said that now that the farewells are over, they will board the carriage. Jealousy out of nowhere and excuses that make no sense at all. How ashamed Feronia was. She decided to free her hand first. Lucian said his hands were a little cold too, and he asked if she could hold his hand a little longer. Feronia told Lord Cardian that she had lied. It wasn't that her hands were cold, she just couldn't stand the way he looked at Estelle. Lucian said he'd already told her he only thought of her. He no longer had feelings for Lady Estelle. Nia said she knew. And even if he said so, it still didn't matter if it was so hard to accept. She was a supporting villain, not a leading lady. She wasn't as sweet as Estelle, and she had a terrible personality. Feronia didn't save Lucian like Estelle, but pushed him away. Feronia said it was too much to draw the line and never confess a man needs willpower. He was just being careful because he didn't want to do anything that the lady wouldn't like. Nia said that she would never hate him, so she tells him to act freely even if she thinks she won't like it. Lucian said he wanted to hug her. He really liked her. Lucian wanted to say that. He tried to say something else. He hesitated and stalled for time. This was all starting to irritate Feronia. The lady took her hand back and began kissing the lord. She felt very pleased. And she didn't understand why, when it didn't work out the first time, she acted so pathetic. They've been dating since today. Annie told her mistress that she still looks beautiful today. Her makeup is especially good. Feronia said she'd be back soon. Father said she'd meet Lord Cardian again today. He said that now was the perfect time. Looking at her, he remembered his dates with her mother. Father couldn't understand why she was so calm. Normally, she would have ignored him and disappeared long ago. She said he had such interesting things to say, and she would like to hear more from him. The Marquis said that if she stayed here listening to his stories, she'd be late. Nia said she'd be back soon. Feronia asked Lucian how long he'd been waiting, but the Lord said he too had only just arrived. They left. When Feronia looked at his red ears, she simply stomped along in affection. Today they came to the play The Unrequited Love of Count Batus, a popular work in the capital. The secret of this work's popularity lies in Puy the actor playing the main character. Actor Puy enjoys immense popularity among aristocrats thanks to his pleasant appearance. Throughout the performance, as Puy serenaded the girls appealing to their hearts, they continued to sigh. Feronia couldn't understand why he didn't bother her at all. She assumed she was having some kind of vision problem. If he'd known things would turn out this way, he wouldn't have brought her here. This man is so beautiful that Puy can't even compare. So she has no vision problems? Lucian asked if she found this man handsome. The girl was shocked that he was now jealous. Feronia said that she wasn't at all. And compared to Lucian, he's just a normal human being. After all, to her, her boyfriend is the best in the world. From that day on, they met every day. And then one day, Nia woke up. She wanted to meet Lucian. And she didn't understand why she had to go to some banquet. Annie said she hadn't been to a banquet in a long time. This is a great chance to put in their place all those who have ignored her all this time. The maid asked her if she should wear a red Chanel dress and highlight it with a beautiful ruby, or she wants an ivory dress paired with diamonds to add elegance. Annie thought it was too banal. As expected, the lady looked good in flashy outfits. Feronia said she'd simply dress to avoid criticism. This wasn't a meeting with Lucian after all. After siding with Estelle during the engagement ceremony, Nia became distant from other ladies her age. Moreover, due to the incident at the Crown Prince's birthday banquet, the Empress Dowager also does not have the best opinion of Feronia. From that day on, she didn't attend any public events, but even without that, it was obvious Feronia had become a public enemy. The main character decided she had to keep a low profile. She was sure everyone would turn up their noses at her. For this is the method which aristocratic women most often use to mock others. As expected, silence reigned with her arrival. No need to react. Find a comfortable corner. The ladies were shocked that it had been so long since they had seen her. They had all been so eager to meet her. Feronia didn't understand what was going on with them. Rumor had it she had 20 custom-made Chanel outfits. And she really did come in her dress. The other lady remarked that it was very beautiful. The necklace and earrings contained emeralds from Charmin. They perfectly matched the color of her eyes. Now she understood why they had switched so abruptly. It was all because of Lucian. They had gone on so many dates. Lucian told them to send all the goods from the store to Feronia's mansion. She's sure everyone knows Lucian is crazy about her. They were probably trying to get closer to him by any means necessary, although she already knew that it was still harsh. She noticed the Dowager Empress and Erica, who approached Nia and remarked that they hadn't seen each other for a long time. Feronia wondered what she was planning. The one whose expression faltered would lose. Erica said that she heard that she had been going on a lot of dates with Lord Cardian lately, and she thinks they have excellent invitations. Feronia confirmed this with a smile. Lord Cardian is a low-class commoner. She is the legitimate daughter of a marquise. Still, it's surprising that they get along so well. It means their love is incredibly deep. Now she's setting her sights on Lucian's origins. When talking to Lord Cardian, you never get the feeling that he's a commoner, and there's nothing wrong with that. He had achieved everything simply because of his abilities. Feronia decided it was her turn. Speaking of which, Lady Erica must understand her fiancé perfectly. After all, her fiancé, Mr. Garcian, comes from a noble family with a deep history. Erica confirmed this and said that this is what noble families do. Feronia said that then she hoped that she had an unbiased understanding of the Marquis Garcin's recent secret affair with the maid. Nia said that's what noble families do. Lord Cardian is famous for his good looks. As his fiancée, she's well aware of it. Feronia said she was. No matter how beautiful or wonderful something is, if she sees it every day, she gets used to it and takes it for granted. But with Lucian, it's completely different. Even though she sees his face every day, she never ceases to be amazed by him. He's incredibly handsome. Erica wondered if it wasn't too much to describe the Puyi Empire's most famous actor as an ordinary human being in comparison. They spoke so excitedly about Lucian, but what a direction their conversation took. Just recently, she and the Lord had attended a performance of Puyi. She couldn't understand who she could have heard this from, and she didn't understand why she was using it as an argument. Feronia remembered that the Dowager Empress was also a great admirer of Puyi, and she thought about whether it would be better to say that she had never said anything like that, or to say that she had made a mistake. But her Lucian is the most handsome man in the world. Erica said that if she doesn't say anything, it must be true. I can't bring myself to deny it. Erica said that no matter how handsome Lord Cardian was, this was too much. Suddenly, Lucian appeared from behind. All the ladies were shocked, and Lucian greeted the Grand Empress Dowager. He asked how she was doing. The Empress didn't understand what he was doing there. Only the royal family and noble ladies were invited to the banquet today. She couldn't believe he'd come because of his fiancé. She asked if he was afraid he'd want to hurt her again. Lucian said he came here today to see the Dowager Empress. She was in shock. Lucian said he had heard rumors that she was very upset about recent events, and he did this out of concern for his fiancé, so he asks her to be lenient. Since he said so, there was nothing she could do. She asked him to let her calm him down. There was no good in causing unnecessary trouble for the Lord. The Empress said that now that she thought about it, they had never had the opportunity to have a calm conversation with him before. And since he had come, she asked him to have tea with her. Lucian asked if she minded. He's someone the Empire can't do without. He's high enough to do it. He asked if he could invite Nia to join them. Since the three of them had gathered here today, he would like to resolve the tense relationship between them and the Empress Dowager. Lucian asked if he was asking too much. The Empress said of course not, because there was nothing complicated about it. He asked Lady Feronia why she didn't come over and sit down. Erica was completely shocked. Lucian silently asked her if he was doing well. Feronia winked and gave him a thumbs up. The ladies greeted Lucian. One of them said she had long wanted to meet him. The second one wanted to greet him in the hall a little earlier, but there was no opportune moment. The Lord said hello. A crowd of girls had gathered around Lucian Cardian. Erica was very angry, and Feronia was wondering why she was attacking her. She's just a run-of-the-mill supporting villain, after all. Lucian said they'd leave it at that. The Empress told the Lord she had a wonderful time today, and she thinks she simply misunderstood him before. She promises to meet him again next time. The ladies told the Lord to attend banquets more often in the future. The lady said she'd send an invitation to Feronia. The girl asked him how that had happened. She didn't expect him to come. Lucian asked if he could help. Feronia said yes. After all, he had seen how kind they had been to her. His Majesty the Emperor told her that if she wants to protect her, it's not enough to just be strong. She must always be by her side. He believes that's the most effective way. However, Feronia asks him not to do this anymore. Complications will arise if so many women truly fall in love with him. Even if it was all for her, she was jealous. Lucian was surprised but blushed with a smile. Now the main character is racking her brains like never before. Since she moved into Feronia, this is the biggest worry she's ever faced. Lucian's birthday is just around the corner, but she's at a loss for what to give him. This time, she wants to give him a real gift, something he'd really like. However, she's spent a lot of money on dating every day. No money. Besides, she can't borrow from Lucian like she used to. But even if she does find the money, finding a gift that will satisfy Lucian won't be easy. Because Lucian surprisingly doesn't want anything material. Imagine what he wants. Feronia didn't understand what she was saying. It was shameful, but it was still true. She decided that she would give him a gift that would make him the happiest. Lucian's birthday. Feronia applied light pink eyeshadow, lengthening her eyelids to create a cat-like appearance. Today's makeup is done. Annie said her lady had golden hands, and she said Feronia was beautiful. The maid is confident that Master Cardian will be incredibly happy. Feronia asked again if this would be the case. And with such support, Annie reached Lucian's mansion. Paul greeted the lady. The servant informed him that Lord Lucian had plans and was leaving. The lord would return to the mansion in the evening. Feronia was grateful for what he'd told her. She told Paul to leave. He said that since she asked, he was leaving. He certainly won't leave his job without permission. They're simply obligated to convey this to Mr. Lucan. Feronia said she would explain to Lucian that she had kicked him out of the house, even though they had no intention of quitting their jobs. That's why she wanted him to leave quickly. The poltergeist exorcism was successful. First, decorate the mansion, because a birthday party should have a childish feel. Lucian probably never had a real birthday party. It seems like he's forgotten all about it. And then Lucian arrived. He started calling for Paul. He thought it was very strange that he had gone somewhere Feronia was hiding. She jumped out and started wishing the guy a happy birthday. She asked if he was surprised. Lucian said he was very surprised. That was the plan. And now Feronia wanted to give him a gift. This rather surprised him. She began to kiss him. Feronia was already beginning to think that this situation was too dangerous. She didn't know if they could continue. Because she doesn't know if the novella is for all ages, she decided it doesn't matter whether it's for all ages or not. She and Lucian are adults, and if she comes home late, Annie will come up with something to justify her behavior to her father. Paul burst into the room and asked Lucian if he was there. He started talking, no matter how much the lady begged him. He shouldn't have done that. Paul said he left work without his boss's permission. He thought about his misdeed. He apologized. Feronia didn't think he'd ever be forgiven. Paul was asking Master Lucian to answer because he'd made a mistake. The lady said that today was his birthday and it wasn't right to kill people on such a day. The Lord said that he didn't mean to kill him. Though he thought about it for a second, Feronia was glad she had saved his life. And she wanted him to never forget her kindness. The next day, the girl greeted Lucian and asked him what brought him here so early in the morning. She then invited him into the living room. Lucy told Nia that he'd been thinking all night and that he seemed to have made a huge mistake. Feronia didn't understand what he was talking about. They haven't gotten married yet. The mere thought of spending the night with her makes his heart burst with excitement. He'll be the happiest man in the world. However, if anyone finds out, it will definitely be a disgrace to her. Feronia said she didn't care. Those who criticized her for such things were wrong. She was confident, but he didn't want that. Lucian wants their marriage to be concluded in complete peace so that no one can say anything bad. The Lord wants to cherish her even before their wedding. He apologized again. Nia called her father and asked him when he planned to marry his daughter off. 2 years had already passed since their engagement. Father said there was no point in pestering him with this question. His Majesty the Emperor didn't answer either. He said he also understood Feronia. His Majesty's health had recently deteriorated. The Marquis couldn't understand how the topic of marriage could be broached under such circumstances. Because of this, even those who had already scheduled weddings were postponing them. So he asked his daughter to wait a little. According to the original, the Emperor dies before the end of this winter. She couldn't understand why her heart felt so bitter. Just a few days ago, such thoughts had plagued her. Feronia greeted the Emperor. The man noticed that she hadn't looked in for a while. His complexion was even worse than before. She didn't understand why he wanted to see her. The Emperor said he had summoned her only because a letter had arrived from Estelle, who wrote that she had found a valuable person in the kingdom of Sebran. His name is well known in those parts. Perhaps he can heal the Emperor. Feronia was shocked because nothing like that had happened in the original. But since she'd taken over Feronia's body, she'd changed a lot. Lucian likes her, not Estelle, and Estelle fell in love with Calix without any hardships. She even ends up studying abroad, which wasn't the case in the original. Perhaps the Emperor can be saved too. The ruler said that looking at her face, it seemed she was very happy about the possibility of his recovery. His spirits even lifted. Feronia noticed that Estelle had a precise look in her eyes. She must have found a very experienced doctor. He was grateful, but he had not called Feronia to listen to words of encouragement. He needs her help. He wants her to accompany a man who is soon to arrive in the Empire to the Imperial Castle. He asked her to do it. This greatly surprised Feronia. Lucian asked her why she had to do such a thing. Lucian said that he would tell the Emperor not to assign her useless tasks. But Nia said it wasn't worth it. She didn't agree because His Majesty ordered her to. A man's life depends on this question, and when His Majesty recovers, perhaps he will give permission for her and Lucian to hold their wedding ceremony. Feronia told Lucian to support her so that she could complete this task. Lucian asked if she wanted to know what kind of person the doctor she would be accompanying was. Nia said he was one of the most famous people in the kingdom of Sebron, and she learned that they were supposedly friends. The Lord said they were given false information. There is absolutely no relationship between them. He was one of those he'd met on the battlefield. A mercenary, Feronia was surprised that doctors could be mercenaries too. He felt that he enjoyed treating people who were on the brink of life and death. The more serious the patient's injuries, the more enthusiastic he became. In terms of his medical skills, this doctor is one of the few who stands out. And he thinks he can certainly cure His Majesty the Emperor. Hope looms on the horizon. She's so glad such a man has come to the Empire. He said Nia is always so kind. But her intentions weren't so pure. Feronia said she simply liked it. Lucian agreed and said he liked her. The day of the meeting with Kun, the doctor of the kingdom of Sebron, Feronia was very curious about him. He has an intent gaze and fierce eyes, or maybe he looks like a scholar with deep knowledge. He has arrived. He's the kind of guy who looks better with a microphone than with a scalpel. Something like that. Feronia greeted him saying that her name was Feronia Lilac and that she was accompanying Mr. Kun. The man said he was curious about the amazing woman who became Cardian's bride. And she's ugly. Feronia didn't understand what he'd just said. She only liked her face, and he said she was ugly. But the main character decided that it was not worth losing her mind over the words of an idiot. It's important to please the Emperor properly and escort him to His Majesty. And with a socialite smile, she smiled and said that they should go because the Emperor was waiting. He said that even her smile was ugly. The man said that she was completely different from what Estelle had told him. The doctor said the saint told him she was an incredibly beautiful woman. He considered himself a fool for believing her words. Beauty standards vary from country to country. The man said it seemed like the Empire had unique tastes. He asked her what her relationship with Cardian was like. Feronia said it was good. The man just laughed. Even though she was his fiancée, he was unlikely to even look at her. Cardian is one of those people who is unquestioningly indifferent to people and builds a wall in front of women. The girl said he could think whatever he wanted. The man said that at least his appearance wasn't that good. But he didn't know what her character was like, and she had a terrible character, mediocrity. Feronia really wanted to ask if it was his business whether she was mediocre or not. The doctor said he was in bad shape, but it's not too late. They'll start treatment today. It's impossible to fully restore already damaged organs, but he won't die. The Emperor has ordered Kun to be cared for with the utmost care. A few days later, in the banquet hall, they said they'd throw a banquet befitting Kun's tastes, and it turned out to be incredibly grand. The Marquis didn't understand where Kun was, and Nia said she didn't want to see the man at all. Father said that if she was from the Lilac family, she should know all the famous people, and even better if she became friends with him. He brought her here only to show off his acquaintance with Kun. She decided to pretend to be a loving daughter. The ladies said that they imagined some pot-bellied guy with such and such an amazing reputation as a doctor, but they couldn't have imagined he was so young and handsome. They say experience is important for doctors, but they're shocked by how much knowledge he has at his age. Kun said he was a genius. Feronia was shocked by his inflated ego. She heard that he had fought in many wars. He was so brave that he went to the most dangerous place. The man said he wasn't afraid at all because he was a doctor, and a doctor is a friend of death, so he's not afraid of it. The Marquis approached and said that the banquet was always quiet, but today the atmosphere was lively, thanks to a special guest. His father told him that he had heard that he and Lord Cardian had crossed the battlefield. He confirmed it. Lord Cardian is the greatest knight in their empire. He is also a hero whose appearance in the Long War brought it to an end in just 3 years. However, since he himself is a man of few words, little is known about Lord Cardian. The Marquis asked if he could share anything from his battlefield experiences. Now Nia understood that this was precisely what her father had come here for. Kun said that if he was talking about Cardian, there was a story that came to mind. Nia didn't understand what he was talking about. By then, he'd been on the battlefield for quite some time, but he'd never seen such a sight before. How could just one man kill so many people? Father said, that's why Lord Cardian is the most powerful knight in the Empire. The story doesn't end there. The most astonishing thing begins next, bodies scattered across the ground. Soldiers suffering from deep wounds and groans. First, he rushed as fast as he could to Cardian. He thought he could treat his wounds himself. However, there wasn't a single wound on his body, as if the bloodbath had never happened. Cardian was literally a monster with incredible strength. Feronia told him to take his words back immediately. He saw the girl before him and realized she was the Lord's fiancée. She even shows her ugly face at the banquet hall. Nia said she didn't care, and she approached him, telling him to take back what he said. About Lucian being a monster, Kun asked why. Feronia said he was speaking about a person inappropriately. She asked him if he thought it was rather rude, but he said not a bit. He called the monstrous man a monster, and Lucian's abilities were precisely that, monstrous. She asked if he claimed he had said nothing wrong. Kun himself agreed. Father told Feronia to stop because Mr. Kun didn't say anything with bad intentions. The girl couldn't understand how he dared call her man a monster. Feronia would never forgive him for that. Feronia turned to Kun and told him his eyeliner was uneven. The man was absolutely horrified. The day after the banquet, Father said their family would now be completely destroyed. A family that had existed for 300 years could disappear because of a single swatch of eyeliner. He thought about running away right then and there. Feronia told her father to wipe away his tears because she didn't know what could happen with one word. The Marquis said that because of her words, Mr. Kun instantly turned pale and left the banquet hall. Kun left, and everyone in the banquet hall also dispersed. After giving him and his father the same look, everyone else did the same. Like prisoners on death row about to die, they insulted Kun, who was like a lifeline to the emperor. If Kun says he won't treat him anymore, he and his father will become criminal traitors. His father is guilty of not stopping her. Annie came and told the Marquis that a man from the imperial palace had come to see him. Her father was absolutely horrified. The Marquis said that this world is guarded by laws and regulations. You can't drag someone somewhere just because they said someone's eyeliner wasn't even. The Marquis shouted that it was definitely not her daughter. He said that Kun was hoping for a formal conversation with Feronia right now. The Star Palace in the Imperial Palace. She'd heard he was treated like a VIP, but not to that extent. Mr. Kun will greet her. He told her to sit down. The table is filled with treats prepared by the most skilled pastry chef. Feronia said not to doubt it because she had absolute taste organs. Kun asked what that meant. Nia said that if the cake was poisoned, she only needed to take one bite to know it. The man decided to remind her that he was a doctor and that his only interest was saving the dying, and not the murder of a healthy person, so he can eat in peace. Feronia wondered why he'd called her. She believed he had called her to apologize. He asked if she would apologize if so. Feronia said he should apologize first. Kun found that odd. She was so calm when they first met, but suddenly she became too arrogant. The lady said she was very lenient back then. Kun asked why she didn't act the same way now. Feronia said he insulted her boyfriend Lucian isn't a monster. He just has a little special power. Kun said it was spot on. He thought his fiancée was just some ugly woman from the Marquis' family. Even he, a doctor from another country, knows how Cardian is treated in the Empire. A hero of the Empire, a brilliant knight. But these are all just superficial compliments. They boast about how much they respect him, but still treat him like an ordinary person. The aristocrats of the Empire would never acknowledge Cardian. Even if a stranger burst in and insulted him, they would keep their mouths shut. Cardian is literally a monster with incredible strength. However, that's none of his business. He called her for another reason. Kun asked if he was leveled today. He was wondering if his eyes were okay today. Feronia turned away, and he took that to mean that it was uneven today, too. He said that no matter how ugly she was, her makeup was decent, and he believed the maid had done her best. Feronia said she does it herself. He told her to teach him how to do makeup. She asked him who he was. Kun thought she was making fun of him, but she said it wasn't true. He was just a completely different person without makeup. He's so naive without makeup, but too brazen with it. Nia said she'd teach him how to apply eye makeup now. She'll show them the magic of turning into a villain. She asked them to close their eyes, a different contour for the eyebrows. 10 minutes later, she asked him to look in the mirror. The man was pleasantly shocked. He liked it. Feronia said it would take time to buy new ones. For now, he could use these. Kun said that she looks like she has a nasty personality, but she is actually kind. You could say that. But for him, sir, it's the other way around. Feronia said that, then she'll go. The healer said he wanted to thank her. Nia said that if he wanted to repay, he could do her one favor. Feronia told him to apologize to Lucian for yesterday when he met her. Then she would apologize to him. Kun asked what if he didn't want if Feronia considered him a narcissist. He told her to take it. Despite how it looked, this plant was very valuable. She hurried away. She's meeting Lucian today. He'll be very surprised when he finds out she came to meet him. After all, he himself said that they would meet when Lucian left the palace. Kun greeted her. She remembered that this man's star palace was also here. The doctor asked if it was too much to pretend that she had not noticed the person she had already looked at. Farampia apologized and said she was busy. The doctor asked if she was so busy that she couldn't say hello. The lady said she was so busy she couldn't even look him in the eye. He asked if she had checked the gift. Nia told him to take it back and see that there was some disgusting thing in there. He said she didn't know, but it was a medicinal root. It is so valuable that for the same amount of money, he could buy 20 dresses just like this one. The girl didn't understand why Mr. Kun was pestering her. The doctor said he had simply become interested in her. He tried to stop her. Feronia didn't understand why. She assumed it was because of what happened at the banquet, and because of that, he was tormenting her now. Kun said he was serious. He was interested in people who looked funny, and she was just like that. Feronia told him to listen to her. She has a lover guardian, and his pursuit of her is quite unpleasant. And she hoped they wouldn't run into each other again in the future. Lucian approached and asked what they were doing there together. Kun said they hadn't seen each other for a long time, and he was still incredibly handsome. Lucian asked Nia if everything was okay. The girl said everything was fine, but the Lord said it didn't look that way. He began to believe that Kun had offended her. The doctor said nothing of the sort had happened. He had simply spoken out. About his interest in Feronia, she tried to stop Lucian. She hoped he wasn't going to swing his sword now. Lucian said he never kills people outside of battle. It's simply a knight's instinct to never let go of his sword when faced with a threat. Kun asked what kind of nonsense he was talking. If it weren't for Feronia, his head would have rolled far away. The healer almost died, but he thought it was worth it. Seeing his worried face, he never cared about the death of either his enemies or his allies. He couldn't believe she was so special. Kun said they would see each other again. Lucian said that he and Kun didn't have the best relationship, but that's not really true. Feronia said that was just his point of view. Lucian asked Nia what had happened over the past few days. The lady said that, to be honest, a few days ago she taught the Kun how to apply makeup. Lucian couldn't believe he and Kun were alone in the room. Then Nia said they were alone, but nothing happened. Not because he might have had any dark intentions or anything like that. Since she was his fiancée, his curiosity was piqued. Feronia told him to just ignore him and not pay attention. Lucian said that was impossible. No matter how eccentric his character, he's a man, and he's certain that his conversation with her has awakened special feelings in him. Their eyes meet, their hearts pound, and it's impossible not to fall in love with her. Feronia asked if he thought it was true. Lucian asked why not. Nia said Kun would never have those feelings for her, but it didn't matter anyway. The Lord didn't understand what she was trying to say. Feronia had said that he only liked him, Lucian, so she asked him to stop being angry. The Lord agreed. She stopped him, of course, but she was pleased to see her lover's jealousy. Lucian asked if he should do it again, if he didn't kill anyone. Nia said she missed him very much. Banquet hall. The ladies said that thanks to Kun, His Majesty, the Emperor has become much more cheerful. His skills are truly amazing. What's more, he looks amazing. He's also studying facial care. Kun said Feronia taught him how to apply makeup. This rather surprised the lady. One lady said his makeup was indeed similar to Lady Feronia's. Another decided she should ask her for some tips too. She really does beautiful eye makeup. Another woman has also been interested in makeup application techniques for a long time. The ladies decided to visit Lady Feronia tomorrow. They all agreed to come together. The next day, Feronia was putting on makeup for the lady, and she asked her to now open her eyes and look in the mirror. The girl was shocked and said that her eyes had become twice as big and considered it incredible. She realized that she should have come to her a long time ago and asked her to teach her how to use cosmetics. It's exactly as Mr. Kun said. One of them suggested organizing meetings for people who like thick makeup. They had already started to line up, wondering who was next. Annie entered the room and announced that Lord Cardian had arrived. Feronia said that she was a little busy at the moment and asked the maid if she would ask him to wait in the living room. Annie told Lucian she thought he'd have to wait a little longer. The Lord understood. The lady said it was a lot of fun today. They'll be visiting her more often. Next time, she'll show them her makeup skills again. The makeup was so beautiful, and the lady too. Feronia hoped he hadn't left yet. Feronia burst into the room and asked him how long he'd been waiting, then immediately apologized. Lucian said it was nothing. The girl asked him, how about an evening stroll? Lucian happily agreed. The lady said she'd decided to hold a reception next time. So many people want to learn how to apply makeup. It was also unexpected. She hadn't hosted a party in too long. Lucian said she looked happy. Honestly, that's true. People compliment her and say she has great skills. It's really nice. She didn't know if she would achieve excellent results, but she would try her best. The Lord asked what she meant by that. Feronia said she wants to try her hand at this field and explore different makeup techniques. The lady said he would see for himself. She too would certainly become a wonderful person who would amaze the whole world. Lucian said she was already more amazing than anyone else. But Feronia said that was only true for him. The Lord asked if that wasn't enough. Feronia didn't understand what he was talking about. Lucian said it was just nonsense. He would always support her. Feronia was very grateful to Lucian. A few days later at the Imperial Castle, Lucian finally came to see the Emperor. He asked how she was. The Emperor said he was feeling much better. He told Lucian that the reason he had called him, he would like to ask him to visit the conflict zone again. This surprised Lucian quite a bit. The lady said she was fed up and asked if the Baroness could look so modest. She wanted her eyes to be bright. Ever since childhood, lady witches had preferred princesses. That's exactly what she preferred, and she considered herself very lucky to be associated with Lady Feronia. Since they've already taken it upon themselves, they need to do it. Long live the Heavy Makeup Lovers Society. That's how their society was formed, and she seriously decided to make a business out of it. The saint asked Nia how she was doing. She was doing well, but something was still troubling her. Calix said he wouldn't be returning to the Empire this month. Her heart aches at the thought of whether public opinion of His Highness the Crown Prince will worsen due to his long absence. Alarmed by His Highness Estelle's refusal to return, Feronia decided to write a reply. His Majesty the Emperor is gradually coming to his senses and taking part in state affairs, so everyone is very busy. No one cares about the Crown Prince, so Estelle, don't worry so much. Nia has decided to open a beauty salon. Ladies line up to get her makeup done, and she asked if she knew. When she returns to the Empire, she'll show Estelle her trendiest salon. From today on, she's Feronia's boss. Annie was telling the young lady it was time to leave. The Marquise had already boarded the carriage. My father said that when she was born, a fortune teller told him she would save the Empire, and he believes her words. If she can save the Empire, he asks, why doesn't she start by saving Lilac's family? She'll succeed. He's invested all his money in her business. Everything should be fine, right? It's the first time, so there's no need to worry too much. The ladies asked why they had only just arrived. They were very glad to see Lady Feronia. They had been waiting for her for a long time. The salon is truly beautiful and elegant. It has already become a favorite of one of the ladies. Feronia said she would immediately take care of their makeup. The woman was surprised that Lord Cardian didn't show up. The girl said that by order of the Emperor, he went to the Imperial Castle. She's Lucian's fiancé, that's why they came. The lady said it was no big deal if they didn't meet him. The main character today is Lady Feronia. Father said it was true, and his daughter is the main character today. Everyone who signs up today will receive a free pink lipstick. The lady decided she absolutely had to sign up. The war in that region had already ended. The enemy army had admitted defeat, and the Empire's soldiers had gained the upper hand. But the atmosphere remains tense. He receives reports that the remnants of the defeated soldiers and local residents are refusing to cooperate with the Imperial Army. Most likely because Cardian, who commanded on the battlefield, has disappeared. That's why he's needed. All he has to do is show up there. Only that will make them listen to the Imperial Army. When he returns after subduing them, he will give him the status and rank that he was unable to obtain then. Lucian knew he'd be away from her for too long. Then he asked the emperor to give him a little time. The emperor did not understand why at all and asked if he would stay if Miss Feronia asked him not to leave. Both of them fell in love. He agreed to speak with Lady Feronia, and if they want, they can go together. No matter how awkward it might be in front of the emperor, he won't go if she doesn't want to. Feronia was very glad to see Lucian. The Lord had said he was a little late. The ladies greeted Lord Cardian and added that it was already so late, it seemed it was time for them to leave. The Marquis said that since they would become their regular customers, he would take them there. They were grateful. Lucian congratulated Nia on the salon's opening. She was very grateful for the bouquet, and she actually thought he wouldn't be able to come today. Nia said the spots were fully booked for the entire month. The girl thought this was great. When she earned a lot of money, she would give Lucian lots of gifts. The Lord said he would wait impatiently. He thought for a long time and didn't know how to say it. And finally, he called Feronia. He informed her that it looked like she would have to return to the conflict zone. By order of His Majesty, the Emperor Feronia asked how long this would last. The Lord was unsure. Lucian said that even if everything could be resolved quickly, it would take a month. Nia asked if it was dangerous. The man said no, because he would only need to show himself. Even if it was the Emperor's order if she said not to leave, Lucian would not go anywhere. Feronia was pleased and told him to return quickly. This surprised the Lord, and he asked again. Nia said that this was the Emperor's order and she shouldn't worry. The lady said she could wait. Lucian's face was simply horrified. That's all.